Friends, if you're looking for real old-school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today. Good morning, campers, and welcome once again to Midnight's Edge in the Morning. It is Monday. It is a new week. We have 2 very special guests with us. Guests who have both been on the channel before, but it's been a while. So I want to welcome back once again Retro Blasting, aka Michael. How you doing, my friend? Been too long.
Not bad. How are you doing, sir?
Doing the best I can, considering it's a Monday morning.
Oh, man.
Well, we're glad to have you here, and we also have another illustrious guest with us this morning, the future ruler of Earth himself, before the end of the world, as the eclipse is happening today, Mr. Doomcock. How you doing?
I am
just Doomcock. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, well, you know, Mr. Doomcock, whatever. Yeah, I'm tired. You know, it's just like, you know, this is when I'm normally just stirring and staggering down to the you know, the cantina to grab a cup of coffee here on the base, but I am more or less awake, and I hope not to embarrass myself being zombified this morning. But it's great to be here, Tom, with you and Andre. Midnight's Edge is kind of my second home here, and you know, I like I was saying earlier, I used to watch you guys before I even decided to emerge from hiding and sound the protest about, you know, STD, or as foolish call it, Star Trek Discovery, and well, the rest is history, or at least fan lore.
And it's funny, like it's now in its final season, and here we are all together again, and nothing has changed.
So Doomcock, do your minions part as you go to the freezer for the wrapped chicken salad sandwich?
Yeah, they don't get in my fucking way till I've had my coffee. I'm not I'm not in a good mood when
You know what?
I'm never in a good mood.
I'm glad you're here because I have been accused of more and more that I'm actually Doomcock. So to have, I'm not joking.
So you're the new one.
No. Now that we have both here, I can prove to all the commenters on my channel that I am not Doomcock.
Yeah, indeed.
Yes, why don't you and Andre and I all talk at exactly the same time? I'll just keep
like
talking,
right
y'all talk at the same time, and that way it'll dispel everything.
Because
go ahead,
before
talk while I'm talking, and you know, I mean, we could be talking at different times. Talk over me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the key.
Talk as I'm talking. Now, Andre, you too. Let's just say
absolutely. And also, I just have to introduce the final panelists here. We have not Doomcock, Mr. Paul Chato.
Oh, here, yeah.
Yes, and also not Doomcock, just to remove any doubt if anyone thought so. Although he does have like the similar.
How would he hide the beard under the mask?
Because you know.
I don't think he could do that.
Close pin.
But I do have to share the story though, because I think it's like so funny. I do not think that he's going to mind me sharing this because I've shared it before. But our very good friend Robert Meyer Burnett, This is not on camera. This was the very first time we spoke before he came into one of our streams, just as we had our big 25% different reveal, because that was kind of like the big thing where we really came onto his radar and everyone were like, have you seen the new Midnight's Edge video? And he had, because he was watching our content anyway. But then, before he came onto our stream to discuss the revelations there live, we spoke beforehand, before we went live. And his very first words to me weren't, hi, how are you? No, they were, are you Doomcock? I thought that was funny. So, yeah.
Everybody is Doomcock at some point.
That's right.
I mean, that's what I think is the case.
Yeah.
I mean,
The funny thing
Everyone's
is,
been accused of it.
yeah, evidently thought I was the performance.
yeah, no, I knew better than that because Andre doesn't have enough emotion to be Doomcock.
Although it doesn't help when I go ahead and do the impersonation of Andre.
I do love Doomcock's impersonations of me. You've gotten better. I mean, it used to be a lot of Bela Lugosi, but now I can definitely hear myself in there. I mean, now we can do like, who's the better Andre impersonator, and I might not win.
I don't know.
It'll be like a Dolly
Not
Parton
say,
contest.
but I have heard you more over the years, and I have a better understanding of the rhythm.
You're getting
Exactly.
there. You're definitely getting there.
Now, if
You know that?
if you want a good Bela Lugosi, then I am the actual.
Well, that's because you're
real
Hungarian.
person. No one can do Bela Lugosi. I have it in my blood. I have relatives who actually came from Transylvania.
Listen to them, the children of the night.
And
What
that right there, that
music
was
they
Doomcock's
make.
Andre version 1.0 accent. So,
Yeah.
That was
But
great.
anyhow, yes, indeed. Let's get rolling here. We've got some people in the audience. Let's say hello to. We got a super chats and all that good stuff we're going to get to here soon. Like this one from Vengeful Dragon, garlic bread expert. He's an expert of garlic bread. Sends in 14 South African rands, listening all the way in South Africa. Says
Yes.
Andre, Star Trek, I think he means Discovery, season 5 is out and people still didn't know.
yeah,
I don't think anybody
it's
cares.
SVT. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's right. It's out and no one cares. I mean, Culture, how excited are you for Discovery season 5? Do you feel like going back and watching the first 4
Hell no.
for SJWs in space who are segregated, doing
Yeah.
nothing but talking about their pronouns all day?
Yeah, no, what I want is for this to just disappear into the dark hole that it's going to exist in, because once the merger moves forward, which I'm sure we'll talk about, things may change. We hope.
Mhm. Yeah. Michael, have you
we'll
watched
get back
Star
to
Trek
that later.
Discovery at all?
No. I
Then
got
you're
off,
better
Keep
off.
doing that.
look, I got off the boat. I don't like J.J. Abrams as a filmmaker, so I got off the boat with Into Darkness, which my friends handcuffed me to a couch and forced me to watch.
Ouch.
And no, I haven't. I've seen select bits of Picard season 3. For the same friend handcuffed me to watch 2 episodes of Picard season 1 when that first came out. I told him I would never forgive him. So no, Star Trek and me are on the outs right now. We've had a
Mhm.
long separation, and we're kind of better. We're kind of better for it.
So I can imagine while you were sitting there being forced to watch JJ Trek, you're going like, there are 9 Trek movies.
Yeah,
9 Trek movies.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you need to revisit what you refer to, or people you refer to as friends, Michael.
Oh,
You're
I
like-
did. One of those friends is no longer a friend.
That's,
You're like, how many
that's not
Trek movies are there?
Yeah, that's not even a joke. And it's not because of Star Trek, but you're right, Culture. Like, when someone does that to you, it's not long before you realize they're not a friend to me at all. And
Well, to be fair, though, I mean, we did that to Mr. H. I mean, we Mr. Or our Lord and Savior Doomcock will remember this. How we forced Mr. H to watch an episode of Star Trek Discovery just to see him squirm at it. Just
He
for our
didn't talk
own
to us for a
enjoyment.
while after that,
Yeah,
though.
no, he got
rightfully
angry,
so.
but he got over it. It was all good and fun. So yeah.
Yeah, he can handle it. He can take it. He's
Yeah, we did a video about it, so it was all good and well. Like a perfect reaction video.
That's a
But hit
great
that-
idea for a sub series, Andre. Just torturing your online friends. Just
Yeah,
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 right.
that's what we
away.
did.
Yeah.
Of course, if we do that a regular feature, then we might start losing friends. And like, yeah, I don't think that Mr. H would tolerate that one more time. So, yeah.
And then Grimlock is here. He wants you to watch Godzilla -1 and sends it $2 and says, "Hail Doomcock, also hail not Doomcock." I don't give a
Hail, Grimlock say watch Godzilla -1. Very sage advice. Godzilla -1 was a bright spot last year for sure.
Absolutely. And we also have Dr. Long Dongler with that £1.99 reminding us to hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Please do. And on that note, we're gonna let's put a pin for now in the super chats, and let's get on some of the main topics, because last week was a hell of a week for Disney. And if you're a YouTuber, it was a good week, I guess. But between the proxy votes, the other news that was dropping, we've got the Silver Surfette, we've got more Star Wars they keep threatening us with. But the bigger news is they finally had to admit loss on Indiana Jones, which is something that's no surprise to any of us on this panel. And you know, culture, you know, you've been talking about it for a while now. Valiant and you guys over at that Park Place did a great job uncovering the tax returns to kind of get an idea of what this movie actually cost.
Yeah, and before that, Doomcock also did a great job exposing what a nightmare the movie was going to be and how they better prepare for those for
and on that note as well, we have
Yeah.
Michael here, who has done probably one of the biggest, longest, best breakdowns of the film. So we got a great panel here to discuss this, because yeah, Indiana Jones last year was one of the biggest black eyes Lucasfilm and Disney have taken yet. And it was one they couldn't hide behind in any way, shape, or form. And I think we've all suffered through the film here on the panel, and I don't think a single one of us would say that was decent in any way, shape, or form. So I guess I can get that out of the way.
It was garbage. It was absolute garbage.
It was like James Mangold and
painful.
Kathleen Kennedy are like, took one look at Crystal Skull and be like, how can we make this movie good?
Yes. Yes. It was an unmitigated disaster for the simple fact, beyond all the details, which completely inept screenwriting from beginning to end. But beyond that, somebody else that's not me, who was just a rando in a social media post, summed it up the best, where he said, Indiana Jones didn't do anything cool in this movie. And when you look at this, when you look at the actual film and you think about it, you're like, yeah, Indiana Jones literally doesn't do anything cool in this movie at all.
No, in
Despite
fact,
the boring plot, like, he doesn't do anything cool.
in fact, I said the only time he's even proactive in the story at all is in the scene where he figures out the little deal with the water weight.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know that, you know, there has been some talk about how some people might have speculated that the losses on this movie were a lot larger than this.
Oh, yeah.
However, the fact is, when you look at that headline, 130 million loss is still a loss that an Indiana Jones movie should never incur.
Right.
Like, that's insane. And I know there's a lot of, you know, talk in these articles that I've read about, well, you know, a lot of it might have come down to the post-production budget, and a lot of it might have come down to this and that, you know, all the face replacement. And it's like, yeah, but guys, if the movie's exciting and the movie does the character justice, Indiana Jones, even at his worst, has a track record for making a good profit.
Right.
I don't understand this at all. Like, meaning I don't understand the rationale as they try to apologize for this or make excuses for why this would have happened and act like it's not the story. That's what blows me away.
Yeah.
Well,
no,
I
in
mean, it
fact-
was a horrible hodgepodge. I mean, the thing is that, you know, don't forget that, you know, 130 million, I think it's a lot more. And I think that what happened is when, you know, my source, you know, leaked that about, you know, the whole Phoebe Waller-Bridge debacle, where, you know, it was time travel. They're going to meet young Indy in the past. They're going to bump him off. and then her moving forward would have always been Indiana Jones, basically erase him from history. And shortly, and then of course, people attacked me and said, you're just making shit up. Of course, then, a couple of months later, the New York Post published, or Daily Mail actually publishes like behind the scenes set. Yeah, that shows, ancient, barges and shit and Roman soldiers. And so, I mean, it was all confirmed. And then lo and behold, shortly thereafter, as my reporting is gaining steam, they delay it a year. They delay it a year. And what were they doing during that year? Reshoots, rejiggering. You can just tell that this thing is stitched together like, Frankenstein. This thing is like bits and pieces that were chopped and hacked and reconfigured and molded. And
we got confirmation we got confirmation from John Williams of all places that they changed the ending, which I thought was hilarious. Mm-hmm. Remember that? Because even Mangold tried to come out and call him a fucking liar of all things in so many words.
Mm-hmm.
I know they try. Mangold personally called me like a liar and a basement dweller and everything and all this shit. And then boom, John Williams says, "Yes, this was in December at a concert in Italy." And he says, "Here's some music, and I'm going to write some new music because we're redoing the ending in a few weeks." And Mangold says, "Oh, he was misinformed." Yeah. No. I mean, this thing was a debacle, Tom. I mean, it was. I'm sure that whatever figures they're reporting on the losses, that it's more.
Michael,
and of course, Harrison Ford's interview statements during the press junket confirmed John Williams' statements, where he said, "The last thing I worked on was us doing some work on the ending. We had to rework the ending." And it's when you hear about Karen Allen saying that she was brought in late to do some stuff she didn't expect a call, and then she got the call. They wouldn't even have her at the Cannes Film Festival premiere, which cringe as that was, because they wanted to keep her role a secret or whatever. Yeah, this whole ending was reworked badly. I mean, who ends a blockbuster franchise like this with a Wizard of Oz ending at this point? Right. Who does that?
Well, and that's the thing too. And I think early on, oh, sorry, Andre, I was just going to say, I think early on, Karen Allen even said that, she hadn't even received a call or anything like that. And this is while they were deep into production. So you're 100% right. They brought her in at the last minute. But anyway, you're about to say, Andre.
Yeah, no. So basically, what it sounds like you're getting a guy saying is the whole thing was a Frankensteinian abomination.
Yeah, and to back up what you were hearing, Doomcock, I had heard there was I think no less than 3 different endings, and we got basically the Back to the Future ending, was what I was told it was called. Yeah. And
it was the best rated one, Tom.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No. It was just called the Back to the Future ending because everything turned out fine at the end. Like a Back to the Future when Marty gets back and his parents are all happy and everything's all whatever.
Yeah, it's the same thing here. His son is still dead.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I pointed out too. I'm like, yeah, except for the fact that his kid's still dead, but yeah.
Yeah. and look, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't know much about Indiana Jones. I'm not an expert. Okay.
He doesn't know anything.
But when you've got people saying that, oh no, there was only like one ending, there weren't 3 endings, but you're looking at how it's so anybody that's seen more than 20 films can tell that ending is stitched together. It's just kind of tacked on. The whole film felt slipshod. And what I told one guy who was arguing, there's no way that they would have refilmed that much. The guy was adamant. I said, have you ever seen a Kathleen Kennedy production? There are 2 full versions of Rogue One. We just haven't seen one of them. I said, we've seen a lot of footage from it, but we're never going to see it. There's 2 full different movies of Rogue One. There's 2 full different movies, basically, of Solo. Like, if you look at percentages, she does this every time. Rise of Skywalker, definitely at least 2 full versions of that.
They're still shooting it right now, actually, Mike.
Yeah, right? So with Indiana Jones, this movie, when Doomcock had reported the multiple endings, and then, Mangold and other people are trying to refute that, I'm like, yeah, I've heard this about 3 times before, but I've seen the evidence for all the other films that they accidentally put out there in trailers and other things. This movie has 2 full different versions. I'm convinced. Like
at least 2, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be interested in hearing what Mangold has to say later on in a couple of years, if he ever does.
When the NDA dries up, yeah.
Yeah, because he is not an incompetent filmmaker. I'm sure this must have been a painful experience for him. He's better than what the movie was. It was certainly shot professionally in a way that was very reminiscent of Spielberg's techniques. Way better than any of the Star Wars movies, which were sloppy, almost indie messes. But you could see Mangold's work in it as a professional. But he's just keeping his mouth shut, and good for him. I mean, I'm not expecting anything from him, but it would really be nice from someone, a professional like him, to one day reveal just what kind of painful experience this was, because it doesn't do his reputation any good.
No.
Well, I do have. I just want to say that my sources told me that there were huge delays every day, damn near on the set, because what would happen is that Mangold and KK would go into a trailer and shut the door, and everyone would be standing around for an hour or even 2 hours, and then they'd emerge from the trailer, not talking to each other, and stalking off in different directions.
Not surprised.
So I think that basically he was trying to be a good soldier and save this thing, and she was trying to find ways to bump off Indy or humiliate Indy.
I have a theory that the only reason he did this was just to get his Star Wars movie, and that's the only reason he's keeping his mouth shut at this point.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, maybe. I think that he was because he was supposed to make the original Boba Fett movie. And he even played ball with them and said, oh, no, that was never going to be a thing. Bullshit. There's interviews, if you go back, where he's talking about it and other people are talking about it. He's full of shit. He's lying about it. So that tells me he's doing this. He's being a good soldier for Lucasfilm, maybe more so, in a sense that he's just going to, if he doesn't get his Star Wars movie, that might change the story. But you guys got to remember, he's set up to make a Star Wars movie, and he's been one of the people that's been supposed to be making a Star Wars movie since before I think even Disney was involved. So I think he was involved with the Boba Fett project, because that's something that Lucas was going to be making. Yeah, but you were going to say something else, Culture.
Oh, nothing. His reputation shot. He went out and lied, called people names, did all kinds of.
That was surprising.
Yeah, and yet everything that had been leaked for the most part was confirmed either through the movie itself or all those shots you guys are referring to that came out in that magazine layout. This is not. This was a disaster for him in his career. No one will take him seriously anymore when he says something. And James Gunn is getting dangerously close to that line as well. So I have a feeling that the next few years you're going to have directors who stepped out in the name of the message that are going to end up being outcasts at some point because of the fact that they just went so hard in the paint and for no other reason than they were told to.
Yeah, but you know what? Hollywood, you're as good as your last movie. And if it makes,
his last movie was
an outcast. He couldn't get work at all.
You're right, but you're looking at what they're claiming is $150 million loss, which is grossly underestimated. Oh, yeah. But Carolyn Reed did a great job with the story, but those numbers are closer to $250 million in losses. So let's be honest about the situation. It's just this is a one of those moments in history where you're going people still can't reveal the actual information for the size of the embarrassment that it is.
And as for the embarrassment of Mangold, lest we forget, he was even taken down on Twitter by our good friend Matthew Kadish.
Yeah,
which is why I forever after shall call him the Mangold
Slayer. Yep.
Yeah. Well, no, you just remember it's Mr. Kadish to you. Okay.
Well, and this movie to me is more indicative, not to switch gears on the conversation, but I think this movie shows more so just what Kathleen Kennedy was all about from the start. And anybody who wanted to deny that, here's your proof. Because you had in the air, right? Ki-Hu Kwan, a guy who hasn't acted in 30 fucking years. Mm-hmm. He's been in the background, producing, directing, doing stuff like that, working on documentaries and other things. All of a sudden, he's back in the bright spotlight because of Everything Everywhere All at Once. and you have him. Why is he not playing the role that Fleabag is? Because I've already argued that this movie was salvageable if you just had Short Round in that position instead of her.
But then it's not a female character. I mean,
that's the point. That's the point, Paul. And
never
this
going to
proves, because you had the fever pitch of this guy, right? He's, especially when he won that Oscar. Can you imagine the campaign they could have run on that? Indy is back with Short Round, Oscar winner Ke Huy Quan. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I know you agree with me, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is that all Indiana Jones films are based on a trio with 2 men and 1 woman. Every single one, even when the woman betrays him, like in Last Crusade. And in this particular case,
Elsa.
I think it would have been super interesting for it to have been Indiana Jones, a grown-up Short Round, and now Short Round has the love interest in the film because Indy's married to Marion. So that would have really been an organic way to keep that trio going in that next movie, especially with a fresh Oscar winner that everybody loves and wants to see keep going and doing all this amazing work with Key. What a missed opportunity there. And Spielberg didn't do that whole thing any favors after the Oscars, where the guy was asking him, will we ever see Short Round at the press junket? Will we ever see Short Round in an indie film or whatever? And Spielberg's like, well, no, like we retired Short Round's number. And I just wanted to reach through the screen and just clock him for that. Like, are you really still that resentful of Temple of Doom that you're going to, it was only one of the highest grossing films of 1984, Stephen.
Him and George love to shit on that. For some reason, they love to shit on Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
The two of them do.
And I think he gets roped into that.
Well, he got his wife out of it. That's why maybe that's why he's mad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he got shit on by the critics for that movie. That was why he hated it.
No one
Lucas hated it because he was going through a divorce, and that's why he wrote such a dark fucking movie to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Steven, he just didn't give a shit. He was just making another indie movie. But then when the critics went after him like that was one of the first times since 1941 that he had gotten just destroyed by the critics.
That's true.
And then he went from that to going into directing Color Purple, and the critics went after him for that too. Right? That was the other thing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, no, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say they were making the big deal about how you having a white Jewish man direct a movie that should clearly be directed by a black man and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, well, you know, Temple of Doom is a very uneven movie. It's, you know, unlike Raiders of the Lost Ark that, you know, brilliantly escalated action and also had a rhythm to it where you'd have an action scene and then you'd have character scenes. And it was a very warm and human movie. Temple of Doom just gets exhausting. I mean, Christ, how many years do we spend in this like runaway mine train, killing? How many guys is he going to kill? You know, it's a messed up thing, and also it's a bad Indiana Jones prequel because you know he says, I don't believe in superstition and all that mumbo jumbo. Well, what about those stones, asshole? You know, and also he's not very good with women. You know, he's kind of odd with women, and yet here is this macho guy, you know, whipping her and doing all this shit, and Fortune and Glory Kid, and it really I've come to love it as a generic pulp movie divorced from the Indiana Jones kind of lexicon, because I just don't believe it's not indie.
I never viewed it as a purposefully bad movie. To me, you still had talented people involved. No one in Hollywood purposely wants to make something bad except for Kurtzman, but it's more like, you know, you go rush out for your latest favorite Yes album, and you know the latest one is not as good as the previous one, but no one purposefully made a bad Yes album. Like that wasn't their goal.
No.
So it felt like, okay, you tried your best, because you never know until you finish the damn thing. I've been involved in movies and TV shows. It's all theory until it's all edited together and someone's watching it.
Yeah,
it's an amazingly horrible process.
Well, and I'm on the other end.
I didn't say it was. I didn't think it was deliberately bad. I just thought that it was, you know, it was not a good Indiana Jones prequel, and it's not really indie. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, and I was on the other end of the spectrum because that was my first indie film. See, I didn't see Raiders first. And so, like, to me, that
Oh,
was, you
geez.
know, the introduction for Indy for me. And it was
Peak
just so
Indy for
basically,
you?
huh? What was that?
Peak Indy for you?
I wouldn't say peak Indy. It was just my intro to it. Um, see, here's the thing. I like elements. I have a tough time separating like Raiders and Temple of Doom is the best film. And I know people are like, what? It's like, no, because for me, it's like what got me into it was the stuff that was in um Temple of Doom. And then when I seen Raiders afterwards, it almost felt like going from well, basically what it is, a PG-13 to a PG movie. Right? Like you're going, oh crap. So this feels more like a kid's family film compared to the original. And then you get to Last Crusade, which even feels more like a family film. So for me, they got like progressively more family friendly as opposed to having the, harsher one in the middle. See, I can see why people reacted the way they did, right? Coming off of Raiders, which is like Star Wars, but then you can't even compare Temple of Doom to Empire Strikes Back because it's like going from Raiders of the Lost Ark to damn near Night of the Living Dead. Right? Like, I mean, as far as the tone, I mean, there's a huge shift there. And I totally understand where people are like, yeah, it's not the movie I was expecting because I see where Lucas was coming from. He's making fun of, or not making fun of, paying homage to more of the, the what are the Alan Quartermain type stuff in this one more so than the.
It's a love letter sequel to Gunga Din.
That's what I was trying to think. It's like it's a different kind of serial than what the Raiders was based on. Yeah. So it's kind of a different tone.
With some Uncle Scrooge in there, with some Carl tributes as well, lest we forget.
Yes, you must invoke your Uncle Scrooge.
It's true. I mean, there's even some Uncle Scrooge hieroglyphs somewhere in there. But
I know.
Tom, you're right. That was to me, my first exposure to Indiana Jones was also the Temple of Doom. And I freaking loved it when I saw it as a kid. And then I saw The Last Crusade, and I loved it even more. It's my favorite to this day. And then later seeing Raiders of the Lost Ark, let's just say it's not my favorite.
Yeah, to me, it's like Raiders and Temple.
Because it's a work of cinematic genius that, like, is a just marvel of narrative economy, discipline, escalation. I actually think it's one of the greatest films ever made. Period. So
I'm not disputing that. It's just like in my subjective view, I prefer The Last Crusade. That's just
and I totally get it. Like,
opinion.
Like Raiders of the Lost Ark is like Citizen Kane level and always will be, right? Like I get that. It's there's no
blows my mind. I mean, it really is like one of the greatest films ever made. I mean, I just every shot, the pace of it, the editing, the confidence of the direction, the script just escalates beautifully. My God, the opening 10 minutes of Raiders is one of the best movies ever made all by itself.
But
I understand. People have like personal preferences. Like I love Star Trek 5,
Right. Well, I've actually come to appreciate it more too over the years. But where I was coming from, though, basically, is they really didn't have to try all that hard to be better than Crystal Skull. And it was almost like they actively went against it. And Kathleen Kennedy just proved all of us correct all this time when we're like, yeah, she really just wants to make the Force female and make Indiana Jones a woman now and do everything she can to make Lucasfilm as feminist as possible. Right. And everybody's like, oh, you guys are just conspiracy theorists. It's like, no, this is your proof in your pudding here, because this movie would have worked better with almost the exact same script, I say, if it was Short Round instead of Fleabag, because it would make more sense. And going along with what Michael, I think you were saying earlier about giving Short Round the love interest, either that or you have him have the sidekick like he was when he was a kid. And that's part of his animosity towards Indy. Was like, why did you dump me off at a kid's home or something like that? Mm-hmm. And then he finally realizes, oh, because I can't have some young kid running around on me with these adventures, because like have Toby get his arm broke or something, or get shot in the leg or something like that. And then Short Round realized, oh, this is why Indy didn't bring me along after that, because after the shit that happened before, I almost got killed. And then that would almost put him in a position where like he has to understand that, because that's why even the Fleabag stuff where she's stealing the stuff to sell it, I could see Short Round doing that, because him in his resentment towards Indy in the beginning, and then finally realizing at the end that, oh no, need to be preserved and put in a museum, just like Indy, setting him up to be the future Indiana Jones. We follow Short Round from here on out.
Yeah.
Because I don't see why how was that so hard to do? No, she actively worked against that. I can't see how that never even came up as a possibility. That would have been the first idea I think anybody would have brought into the room. So like, anyway, but yeah.
I have to say, I really
That was
hate it.
brilliant.
Just us here, just throwing shit at the wall, as it were, and we come up with better stuff than anything that actually was in that movie.
And fuck the time travel thing. Don't make it a stupid dial. That's the mistake they made in Crystal Skull. Like, as long as it's a religious artifact, fine.
Yeah. Also, maybe remove the darkest scene there ever was in an Indiana Jones movie, which was in this most recent one, where the kid in the movie, the child, the short round character, handcuffed a henchman underwater and left him to drown.
Yeah.
I mean, that was...
Yeah, because it's one, like you said, Andre, it's inappropriate for an Indiana Jones film, and two, it prevents Indy from being able to fight the big guy in the movie like he always does. And I know he was almost 80 years old, but that would have meant Indy always found a clever way out of fighting those guys. He could never beat them on his own. So you've now given the audience a trauma as well as a story loss. Like, they don't understand this series. And so they keep shooting themselves in the foot. And that, what you brought up, is the perfect example.
But Tom, that was brilliant, man. That was the movie right there. You nailed it.
And you didn't have to kill Mutt. You just have Mutt doing his own thing, right? Mutt just didn't have to be Indy Jr. He didn't want to be. He's off racing motorcycles.
Or he is in the military, or he is in the military on a tour of duty in Nam.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah, that was just rude and mean. Just because we didn't like him doesn't mean you got to fucking kill him.
Yeah.
And the only reason you did it was just so you could make Indy a soppy mess. That's the only reason you did it, and so you could divorce him. That was and that is oh God, that to me was probably the biggest fuck you to Indiana Jones in the whole movie.
They only know how to write these legacy heroes one way. Han Solo was carbon the Force Awakens version of Han Solo was just carbon copied over to this, and they added, while Han's son died by joining the dark side, this guy's son literally died because it's the real world. You know, and I'm sure that was a mandate based on all those arguments that Kathleen Kennedy was having with Mangold every day, because he didn't have a lot of control over the script. I loved Ford versus Ferrari and a number of other Mangold films. I know he's a good filmmaker, but he signed up a deal with the devil, and that's what Lucasfilm, no longer related to Lucas, does with these films, is that they write everything the same way over and over and over again. And yeah.
I mean, speaking of over and over, I would have been happy with a reverse Last Crusade, with Indy playing the Sean Connery role and Short Round being the young Indy. I would have been absolutely over the heels, I would love to have seen that. And it would have been ethnically diverse.
Organically
diverse. It would make absolute terrific sense. And the age of Indy could have been, played up in a positive way, not the creaky jokes of putting him down. You don't put him down, but he's a person of wisdom. Right. But, Gen Zs don't like persons of wisdom.
Among many other things. But let's put a pin in it for right now.
Absolutely. I just wanted to say, but that's where it would have made sense with Short Round, because he's somebody from Indy's past. He's allowed to give him shit.
That's what Mike's saying.
And not only that, going off of what Doomcock was saying with the Fortune and Glory thing, that's where Indy finally learns, I fucked up with this kid by telling him that shit, because that's what he's doing now, is he's stealing these fucking artifacts and he's selling them for Fortune and Glory. It's like, duh, I messed him up.
It would have really worked very, very well, Tom. I mean, I'm a writer, and I admire the elegance of that.
I didn't mean it literally, kid.
I was just full of shit, kid. I was young.
I was young, dumb, and stupid.
You just make Short Round buy, and that would have made Disney happy.
But anyway, we got some super chats here for our Lord, and before we lose culture and Doomcock here, I want to get to Packing Proton says in $5 says, can our Lord DVD release Harvey just to destroy Kurtzman Trek and Kennedy film? He'll be an anti-hero for doing so. I mean, you've said this a few times, but if you do that, everything's gone.
Harvey cannot be trusted. For God's sakes, he says that he'll do it. He promises, and he will. But then he won't stop there. He won't stop there. It's not going to. He's not going to step back into his, containment field. The only chance then that there would be to delay Armageddon is for shapely ladies to allow him to sit on their couch in his wife beater, soak up their free AC, watch their cable, eat their pizza, drink their beer, and have them make him sandwiches and cut the crust off while wearing lingerie. And as long as there were women willing to do that, we might go on for 5-6 years. But he has a bad day, boom, that's it.
Is Harvey wearing the lingerie or the women?
It would be the women. Let's ask.
Okay. The way you said it, I wasn't sure.
What kind of question is that?
It was just the way it was phrased. Sorry.
No, well, Doomcock's tired. He's not communicating properly. No, it would not be me wearing fucking lingerie. Thanks.
You're not wearing silk undies as we speak.
I do not have to wear underwear. I'm an eldritch god. I can do whatever I want. I can let it all hang out.
Yeah, I was going to say, because if you were to you'd have to get that specially made with all those tentacles. I mean, I would imagine. But
it'd be at the top, I mean,
the lingerie part. I mean,
the lingerie it ain't gonna be any lingerie. Stop haunting me with this bullshit. Shut up, asshole.
I'm sorry, Harvey. Kenny Long sends in $10. Says some of my favorite YouTube channels united: Midnight's Edge, Overlord DVD, and Midnight's Edge. Okay, twice Midnight's Edge. State of Pop Culture is absolute trash fire. Which they adapt AVP novels with Machiko Noguchi Saga. Are the novels based on the game? I was going to say, I know, Andre, you said that they should have just adapted the game, or the comic, I mean. Is it the same thing in the books, I mean?
Well, the AVP? Yes, they should literally just have done that. Because the movie that we got was a very, 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 very loose adaptation of that storyline, with the black chick taking on the Machiko Noguchi role. So it would have been far better just to do a proper adaptation of that, and it would have been a huge, massive hit. But sadly, Fox in the early 2000s didn't understand that.
Yeah. Chaos Sonic 1 sends in 5, says, Doomcock, have you heard of Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, and Ultraman? All are part of the Takasutsu. Thank you. Gesundheit. And if you want the MCU to fix them, it's so better. So yeah, have you heard of Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, or Ultraman?
Absolutely. I have Ultraman on Blu-ray. I have some Super Sentai on Blu-ray, and I have some Kamen Rider toys, but I've not actually seen Kamen Rider. But Ultraman, honestly, is my favorite kaiju property of all time. Those 60s Ultraman episodes. Tom, you've seen them, right? I mean, surely.
Actually, no, I haven't. I'm aware of them. But
oh my God. They're like 30-minute episodes, but they're so good. I mean, a lot of those monsters, those kaiju that you see, on Japanese toys and stuff, they'll be instantly recognizable to you. I mean, you've seen them, must have been 50 million times at conventions and stuff and not known who they were. The giant clam guy, the guy that looks like a Dalmatian dog.
Yeah, I'm kind of aware of them because of they're adjacent to the whole Godzilla thing, but yeah.
But I adore Ultraman. Yeah. It's one of my favorites. And Super Sentai, I have got it. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I would love to watch Kamen Rider, Chaos Sonic 1.
Yeah. Well, the new Ultraman, where they've turned them into Power Rangers, is horrible.
I haven't seen those, but I'm talking like the classic,
those
Ultraman
are brilliant
stuff. Are just so, they just get right to it, man. They don't screw around, and you get great kaiju destruction, and then Ultraman comes and kicks their ass.
Yep.
Order is restored. But I mean, Godzilla movies of the period, like they can at times like kind of lull you into a bit of a stupor. I love Godzilla. I love Mecha Godzilla. I love those movies, but Ultraman is kind of the perfect length.
Yeah, and like EK Trans says here. Yeah, I know they're, like I said, I know how they're adjacent to Godzilla and all that stuff. That's the only reason I'm somewhat aware of them, but I've never actually dove into the Ultraman stuff yet. Then we got our buddy Valiant Renegade in the house. Let me know if you're free. I'll send you the link to hop on here. But he brings up Caroline reports loss estimates through the most recently filed financials. Indy 5 reporting isn't complete. Isn't gonna go. It's gonna go up. Also, Caroline's figures do not include marketing, which she stipulates. So she's talking about the person who wrote that article that I was sharing on screen earlier, because Valiant actually knows the individual, and yeah, so that's what he's pointing out here. Because yeah, some of us have been calling that number to task, which is true. Even on the show we did here, so we know it's more than that.
She's got a higher standard because she is a reporter, a legitimate news reporter, and she works for
well, fuck you too, then, Culture.
Okay.
Well, I hear what Culture is saying. Of
I
course,
know.
because she has a standard, because she has corporate overlords to answer to. So
yes, I know. He knows I'm giving him shit.
Through the bad news or a little bit. Whereas that's something
he realized he just said something silly.
None of us here have to do, so we can actually say the actual truth.
Yes, a reporter who works for the mainstream media, I think, was a better way of putting it, probably, right? Culture.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she's got to report the facts. She's very much a fact-based reporter, so she does.
You act like nobody else does, so that's what you didn't make it any better.
So. You'd think so, working for the corporate news, but no, that only means you have corporate masters.
Yeah, I was trying to point out a difference, in
I thought he was referring to everybody else that's not mainstream media, like us and stuff. It's like, that's not. I was like, well, fuck you too. Like,
no.
Because you're that part of that Park Place, man. So you're shitting on yourself too. So I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Hey, look, if I'm calling anybody out, it's just going to be you. Okay.
Well, of course you do.
All right. Fair enough.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Moving on. And we have more topics to cover here before we start losing panelists.
Yes. Chaos Sonic says Temple of Doom was his first indie
here, and Tom is doing most of the talking.
I am sorry. We got Chaos Sonic 1, who also says that Temple of Doom is better than Fleabag of Destiny. That I don't think anybody's
100%. 100%. Yeah.
I don't think anybody can argue that. And then Kathleen Morrison says, "Hail Doomcock. Please say hi to Sabu for me."
All right. Hey, Sabu.
Or Sabu, that's how you say it. Yeah.
Yeah, Sabu.
Sabu.
Thank you, Kathleen. Yes, the Doom Squirrel, Sabretooth.
Yes. Is he collecting his nuts?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time. All the time. He's getting fat because the chat keeps feeding him nuts. So what are you going to do?
And then Daryl the Derelict says Temple of Doom may not be the best indie, but it's got the arcade game. Yeah, that's true. A lot of love for Temple of Doom coming from 200 Watt Studio. Says Temple of Doom inspired my love for monkey brains. I didn't know that was a delicacy where you're from, but all right.
That's so gross.
Jason Webster says with an Australian 5, Raiders of the Lost Ark is the perfect homage from George Lucas to the 1930s and 40s B-grade serial films. His love letter to those films. Oh yeah, totally agree. Then we got Walter Tomaszewski, who sends in $1.99, says DC is KK trying to please too many bosses. I think she's just trying to please herself, wouldn't you say, huh?
Yeah, we're having to watch her pleasure herself on the Disney's dime.
Yep.
Yeah, I think KK is trying to basically spread as much wokeness as humanly possible, and it's not pleasing anybody. It's just not pleasing anybody. Whenever you have an agenda and you subjugate entertainment value, character development, excellence in writing to that agenda, then you become just a straight out propagandist, and that's essentially what she is.
And then 200 Watt Studio sends in another 5, says they should do a choose your own adventure Indiana Jones book. They have done those, but have one of the choices be, I want to die. Just leave me here to die. That's what he said at the end of the fucking last one. He's like, just leave me here to die. I'm happy here.
And he was going to die. I mean, that's the point in the movie where he was going to die.
Yeah.
That was it. He was shot. He was wounded, in the crash and everything. There you go.
Then we got Mikey in the house, who sends in 10 and says, greetings from Tax Hell Week. which was already bad enough. Yeah, I know, right? You're getting close to the deadline. That's right. Then did you put in my extension yet, Mikey? In service to my overlord, I watched Discovery. Why would you do that, Mikey? Gross, disgusting. But only good thing with Kurtzman is I met Doomcock. Aw.
Yeah.
Well, I made him do it because we're going to talk about it on Pop Culture Breakdown this Wednesday. And Discovery's horrible. I'm going to be coming out with old school, detailed reviews of those episodes. They're so painfully fucking bad. I mean, I guess nobody here has actually watched the 2 Discovery episodes. Dear God.
I haven't even seen the last 2 seasons.
Mikey Spock surfing on the outside of a ship while it's at warp going, woohoo! I shit you not. Like doing like
I was gonna say, how did they revamp it this time?
Oh, it's just awful. They stop an avalanche from destroying a village by crashing the Disco Prize and another ship, the Antares, in the path of the avalanche. They literally embed the noses of the 2 ships side by side in the ground to stop that fucking avalanche.
What happened to the ships? Did they pull them out?
Well, they don't show that. I mean, I guess they get a crane or something. I don't know, but they're lodged in the ground. They forget that they can set tractor beams to repel. They forget
why didn't they just mount it?
Phasers.
Yeah, why didn't they just mount
they're
it?
Morons. Because they're morons. That's why.
I guess
it's not even an avalanche. I don't know what the fuck it is because it's not going downhill. It's going across the planet. But never mind.
Wait, what? That's a fast-moving glacier.
Yeah, it's like one of the ships detonates something on a hillside, but then they act like it's not like the fucking Alps where it's like a huge mountain and it's at the bottom of the mountain. It's going across the plain, dude.
I have no
idea.
But
they crash the ships in to use their deflector shields to
crazy. Lance Corporal Waffle sends in $1.99 to say, release Harvey, scud the planet.
I'm thinking about it, man. Thinking about it.
Chaos Sonic 1, after talking about STD, I can see why. Sends in $5 and says, Harvey for president, at least he can run the country better without Doomcock pushing the button. Well, you're probably right. He can still run the country.
Oh, yeah. The shit he would do, though, the legislation he would get through. Oh, shit.
Yeah. And then we got Chaos Sonic 1 who says, Doomcock, before you go, will we expect a video on Bridge? Because everybody needs to spread before it is too late and everything has DEI. See, I don't know if you know about this, but yeah, the new term for DEI is Bridge now.
They even have a logo.
Yeah. Well, that's like the 4th, like it's DEIB, right, or ESGB. They're adding Bridge in there, and my spies, they told me this was coming, I don't know, months ago. But the thing is, it doesn't make any difference. All it is just rebranding. It's just a different name on the same shit. But look, it's kind of like we are all so sensitized to this shit. They can fucking call it whatever they want, and it's just not going to make any difference at all, guys. We are like allergic to this shit. We're alert. Yeah. We're sensitized to it. And the minute we detect it, they can do that all day till the fucking cows come home. It's not going to make any difference at all. So, it's kind of like, it's almost like a nothing burger, Tom, don't you think? I mean, it's nothing. It's not going to change anything.
It won't, but at the same time, I see where Chaos Sonic's coming from, where we do need to alert people. And this is where I'm going to start working with Cabrutus, hopefully, on expanding DI detected into movies and television and stuff too, because we're just going to have to figure out how we're going to do that. And it's going to be obviously anybody who has one of these DEI type companies involved or is obviously pandering to this shit. And
I just hope that
I will do that Chaos Sonic one. I guess it needs to be spelled out, but it's,
what were you going to say,
not
Michael?
going to change anything.
I just hope that one of you doing the reporting on this, whichever one, you can fight over it. But since you both have spies giving you information about this, I hope one of you makes it an ongoing series and names it Bridge of Spies. That's just
I don't
That's a
have nearly
great
as many
idea.
spies, but yeah, no, like that DEI detected though, I think is a great idea. It started out as Sweet Baby Ink detected, but I think it's going to grow into something much bigger and much more useful to people as we
Well,
move forward here.
just remember that it comes from the source of all evil, Bill Gates. So
Yeah.
that's where this is coming from. That it filtered through Microsoft and is rolling out to everybody else now when it comes to a lot of the stuff from gaming to entertainment. So enjoy.
Yeah. And then real quick here, we got a couple more super chats, and then we're going to ask Doomcock before he goes about the Silver Surfette. Jason Webster says, we all want to forget the hideous mess that was last year's Indiana Jones and the diaper of dysentery. Yes, we do. Views with Hughes. How you doing, Views with Hughes? He's got agenda-free news. Says KK is simply following Iger's tail in pleasing corporate investors and DC politicians, or they're just both on the same agenda, right? It doesn't.
Yeah.
Mario Trillo says George sucks ass, has lost whatever creative he had. F that glorified pelican. Well, yeah, he did kind of lose a lot of respect among the community after siding with Bob. And then Beth Aristad sends in 2 and says it's good to see DC on the panel. Hell yes, it's great to have him back. Miguel Farah sends in Chilean pesos, 1,000 of them. Says Harvey Cthulhu versus Mr. Canoehead. Bring it on. Oh, I don't know. That'd be a match of the century.
It would be.
It has been mentioned.
Who knows?
He does have protection on his head.
Mr. Canoehead is capable of digging at a rapid rate into the ground, so watch out, Doomcock.
There you go.
So yeah, before we lose Doomcock, we also have Sean Cotter, who says Hail Midnight's Edge and Doomcock. Thank you so much for being here for 30 months. And
Hail Sean, and lots of love to Beth.
Mizzy Buddy as well, who says we are all Doomcock. Love you all. And thank you for that, Mizzy Buddy, and for being here for 16 months. And we also got Rob Altus, who says, Hail Doomcock, great to see you here on the 3rd anniversary as a member. Yes, it is on your 36th month.
Hail Rob Altus, great to see you.
We got one more, a couple I missed here too. Look at that. Walter Tomaszewski sends in $1.99, says, Hail DC, Paramount is saved and AMC is cooked. Yeah, Paramount, I don't know about it being saved.
Well, it's
I don't either. I've got a report coming out soon about this. My spies have really been sending some shit from behind the scenes. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's saved, but it's interesting times.
No,
you're gonna say Culture?
It's got its best opportunity for save with the Skydance merger, because that's just part one. I mean, what they're going to eventually do from the Skydance side of things. I think there is an opportunity to look optimistically at Paramount Global for the first time in a while. And as far as theaters go, AMC is gonna, I don't know. If they go below $3, which is where their stock is now, they've got some problems. You consider that they were up at $600 back when we turned them into a meme stock. So that's a huge.
Well, the thing I keep reminding people, though, is Skydance is the company that got them in this position in the first goddamned place.
In your opinion?
In my opinion, my ass. They have produced everything that has gotten them here. All the Transformers crap. All that stuff. That's them. Star Trek, all that shit.
Paramount's much larger than the films, though, my friend.
I get what you're saying, Culture. I'm not.
Yeah.
But my point is,
they used to
that's what's got them here.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Paul.
I'm just going to say the bigger point is that Hollywood has got to stop acting like a bunch of children. They're in trouble. They need to consolidate streaming services. Yeah. They need to make the experience both theatrically and streaming and network OTA the best experience for us it can possibly be, so they can then go back and concentrate on making good shows, good movies, and just they are in such ridiculous infighting over this failed service called streaming, and I'm doing a video on it because the irony is that this one size fits all monthly hosting fee. They started off with this wonderful, simple advertising based system, and then they went for this one, this one size fits all fee, and now they're all going back to advertising on streaming, but with a shrunken market that's fragmented, that nobody is enjoying paying the same amount of money that they fucking paid for cable. And they're going, wow, we had good product. We had the A-Team, we had Knight Rider, we had Designing Women. We were able to produce stuff that was really interesting and good. And then we just lost the plot. We can only do The Masked Fucking Singer, and we can't even do shows anymore. The streaming services are a mess. Hollywood needs to get together and say, folks, we need to sort this out as a collective because we are fucking this all up. I'm sorry.
No, you're
Oh,
right.
okay,
You're
sorry,
right.
carry on, culture, before
What-
you have to leave.
One last thing, and to add to that, because Paul, this is one thing you're going to love. They already are building aggregation now. You have a bundle coming out that's going to have Paramount and Peacock. You have other types of bundling happening. You're going to have an aggregator that is going to assemble this all. It's not going to be Amazon and it's not going to be Apple. I mean,
but it was Hulu.
It was
there.
Yeah, but they're going to mash it together, right? Not just for the linear products, but you're going to see more and more of those offers. Even Disney's having to do it internally. The only way to make Disney Plus look profitable, and let me tell you, that Park Place and WDW Pro have been doing some great stuff on this, but the only way to make it profitable is to combine everything into Disney Plus, which includes Hulu and ESPN. So you're going to have a bundle within their system itself. And I've got a video coming out later this week talking about, you remember that sports bundle they were putting together between Warner Brothers Discovery and Disney and, somebody else? Yeah, that's already in trouble before it's even gotten off the ground. 3 ways to Sunday.
Comcast stuff from NBC stay with Hulu and Disney Plus?
Look, if you're Comcast, you have no reason. Once the deal closes with Hulu, you have no reason in renewing that contract. Once it expires, you just opt out.
You're gone, and suddenly NBC is no longer part of Hulu.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I mean,
stupid.
there was no reason to do what they did. We all called this, Andre, Tom, everybody. We all said, this is dumb. Streaming is not the answer to your problems. In fact, it's going to tear away a whole lot of places you used to monetize. But anyway, I got carried away. I just wanted to say thanks for having me today. I loved it. And onward in all of your success, gentlemen. You're leading the charge. I will see you soon, hopefully sometime after Vegas. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye, Culture.
Take care, Culture. And before we lose Doomcock, we got one more super chat for you here. Vengeful Dragon asks, can we agree if Academy was happening, they would have announced the cast on April 5th? Think it's gone with sale. Paramount need $3 billion cash for sale. I don't know about that. Doomcock, what do you think about that? Or the whole Academy thing? Have you heard anything? Because I heard it was already in production. So
yeah, well, I've heard that this kind of shit may go the way of, like, Batwoman or Batgirl, like basically be shelved or just kind of cast away. I mean, it's really up in the air. We don't really know, even if this thing actually is going to go through. I mean, there's, the issues of the $3 billion and stuff like that. But Kurtzman Skydance does not like Alex Kurtzman. They're not happy with him. They're basicly, he poached people from them, from Skydance, for a secret hideout back when, and they hold it against him. So they personally have animus towards him. So that's not looking good for him. But they have to deal with him. I've got an update coming, but I think everything's up in the air. Literally, nobody wants Academy. Nobody wants Section 31. So they know that they're just pissing away money on this shit, and they don't have it to piss away. So I don't know. I mean, Tom's right. It is already in.
Before.
Right, exactly.
And Section 31. And Section 31 is turning out to be not exactly what was originally promised. Anyway, it's going to be a movie with Michelle Yeoh, and then she's going to bow out or die or something, and then the TV show isn't going to have anything to do with her. So yeah. And the only reason I've heard that's happening is just because they had the deal with her, and because of such a hot commodity she is right now, and they kept telling him, you got to get it in her schedule or it's not going to happen, basically.
Yeah, well, I can't stand the side of the woman, and that's why I've never watched Everything Everywhere All at Once or whatever. Just the sight of her after a Star Trek Discovery makes me sick to my stomach. So I don't watch anything with old Michelle anymore.
There you go.
She's
So yeah,
kind
that
of
was meant for.
turned into Kleenex.
What was that? Sorry, Paul. I didn't mean to
She's
talk
been
over
kind
you.
of turned into Kleenex, just a brand of tissue that's ubiquitous.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. Yeah, like Band-Aid. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not the actually what it's called, an adhesive bandage, but now we all call it the
Right.
that name. Yeah,
Unless we're in Britain when we call it plaster.
plaster.
Yeah, you have a plaster.
Oh, I did not know that.
Well,
And
anyway,
that's what we have Michael here for. You know.
Well, she didn't.
No more Tom knows. All right, Paul, you were saying.
Michelle was in.
anyway, I gotta go, guys. I've got to check out. Is there anything else, real quick, before I gotta hop off? I gotta get back to it.
The only other one we had somebody said that they had one. Did you find it, Andre, or
No,
not?
I do not find it.
So
I
yeah,
do not
Batman.
find
I
it.
don't think it went through, buddy, because we're not finding it here. So we thought
Not
we had one
even
for
behind the
Batman for you.
scenes.
Yeah, sorry about that, but yeah, no, Dubicok, I guess that's all for you. We appreciate your time. We know you're limited, and thank you for showing up. It's been too long.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun. Andre, Tom, Midnight's Edge is such a damn great channel, and it's always a privilege to be here. I just wish, I wasn't. I'm not a morning person, and so that's it's a bit of an ordeal to get up early, but it certainly was worth it, my friends. Bless you all, and it was great hanging out with you. Retro Blasting, call me Chato. Great to see you guys. And I hope you all have a great rest of the show.
Always nice to see you, Mr. Cock.
Take it easy.
Take care, guys.
Thanks for joining.
You bet.
All right. And I know they talked about the Silver Surfette last week, so if you want to hear about his take on that, you can check it out there. But yeah, Andre, did you want to get on that subject a little bit while we're on the?
Yeah, since we because I know that Michael, of course, you don't know anything about Indiana Jones really, but you do know about toys.
I do.
And the Silver Surfer, he's been in a bunch of different toy lines. I don't recall any female Silver Surfer in any of these toy lines, even though the defenders of Disney claim that, oh yeah, no, the new Silver Surfer being a woman is totally from the comics and everything. And this comes hot on the heels of Bob Iger claiming that Disney has now gone out of politics that they were drawn into through no fault of their own whatsoever. They didn't do anything, but now they've even gone out of that, and no one should accuse them of being woke because he doesn't even know what that means. It's like, what's your thought on this?
Okay, so at the risk of not turning the audience against you, but turning the audience against me, not in the way you might think. Silver Surfer is he's this product of 70s comic book writing where everybody was sort of like dropping acid and being very hippy dippy, and they just wanted to make this cosmic infant character that, was the servant of this, god or whatever, but he was also very naive and very, emo, proportionately to the 70s. And so as a kid, the only Silver Surfer paraphernalia we had in the house was my dad had these 1970s themed cups. One had Red Sonja on it, one had Silver Surfer. I don't remember where he got them, but they were sold before I was born, and he had them.
You still have those Red Sonja cups? If so, you need to take care of them.
Oh, trust me, my dad has them somewhere. He doesn't throw anything away. He's practically a hoarder. And when I find them, when he digs them out, heck, I will just mail you the Red Sonja cup because I know how much.
I wasn't even going to ask for that. I was just going to ask that you preserve them. But hell yeah, I will make sure that they are preserved.
So, dude, I didn't think you were fishing. That's just how much I love you. Okay, so yeah, as far as Silver Surfer goes, I was never really a huge fan of Silver Surfer. I never found him very engaging, and I thought, the Fantastic Four 2 movie, which incorporated him, it didn't help his case with me because obviously that film was very bad. And so when I heard this, I freely admit my first sarcastic thought was, well, maybe if the actress is kind of easy on the eyes, it might make me interested in the Silver Surfer for once. But I know that that's just me being, snarky. As far as Disney's strategy for this, it really wasn't smart PR to go out and claim we're not trying to go against this grain, and we're not trying to rile everybody up, and we're walking away from all this. And yes, we've made these mistakes in our writing rooms and all this stuff, and we've done it needlessly when we should be entertaining people and everything that Bob Iger said. And then to turn around and do this, it's like, ooh, guys, like, whether or not I personally think the Silver Surfer is a boring character with a horrible Nintendo game, this was a bad move. Like, it's just bad optics, one after the other. So I feel like he laid his own mine down in the minefield and then said, "Hey, everybody, watch this," and then stepped on it like a jackass stunt. That's my take on it. So,
well, his right hand doesn't know what his left hand is doing, and he's running a company.
Yeah.
So, can I comment?
Absolutely, please.
So for me, I have the Galactus series.
Mm-hmm.
In the 60s, that entire Silver Surfer series was one of the most important in my young life. I remember, and I think I talked about it before on this channel, that comics were kind of, how do you say it? They weren't very emotional. From the you never, I mean, not cried, but you got caught up in the fighting and the characters and things like that. But at that time, as a young individual, to see the relationship between Ben Grimm and Alicia, where she was blind, loved him, but he couldn't get his act together for her because he felt he was too ugly for her. He had issues. Then the Silver Surfer came, and she could sense the torment and pain that he was because she had some sensory capability, and she kind of fell for him, and then saw the pain in Ben Grimm as he felt that, oh my God, I never said the things I should have said to Alicia. Now I've lost her. I never experienced anything like that in writing or understood anything like that as a kid. That was profoundly emotional for me because I loved all the characters. And so I remember that to this day. It's one of the, I mean, everyone talks about, the World Eater, Galactus, and everything else. But what Silver Surfer gave up, he gave up his power to be earthbound. He gave up everything. That was a phenomenal series to me. And maybe The Dark Knight, for me at least, was the only one that ever topped it. Maybe The Watcher. Maybe Watchmen, sorry. But again, the things that you read when you're young, that's important to you, and that's the thing that, you remember. So for me, that was a turning point in comics. That there was never anything like that again. I mean, that you had a relationship. When did you have, relationships in comics? Maybe you had like Lois Lane and Superman, but that was all goofy stuff. So anyway, that's the end of my. So I was very emotionally. And then then they've got, now they took that away. I mean, to me, this made me mad. Like I don't really care, but this was an important part in my life.
Yeah.
And now, initially, when they said they're going to have a female Silver Surfer, I thought they meant Nova, who was hot.
Right.
No. And I don't even know this character. I didn't even bother looking it up. And I went, really? What? And so bring her in later, like, for God's sakes, this. And we know from the videos that Disney, and we have that, I think I can't remember who played it, whether it was Gary or someone else, where they had one creative person on Marvel who was told that they didn't have to read the comic books, don't bother reading them. No one is required to read them, or they were not interested in reading.
Quite the opposite, actually. Many people who said that. There's mostly on the Disney Plus side, even, that all of the producers or the showrunner, what passes for showrunners between the Marvel shows were like, don't read the comics. We don't want you to have read them, so you can come in with fresh ideas.
And I don't, from a TV production making money kind of person, I'm going, well, start kind of at the beginning of the Fantastic Four, bring them together, and don't even bring in the Silver Surfer yet. Let's really nail the Fantastic Four and just build them out the way they are already built out into the comics. I don't know how hard that is. It's the same thing with She-Hulk. It's right there in the comics. Fantastic, courtroom dramas that were extremely funny, very clever. Why they just didn't do those, I'm at a complete loss. I don't get it. Like, it's all the blueprint's all there. Don't piss people off. Make stuff that's good. I cannot figure out how hard that is.
Yeah, and that's why when I was making my sort of take on Silver Surfer and then moved over into that whole Iger thing, what I was trying to say is, regardless of how my late Gen X feelings for Silver
But I'm not
Surfer
mad at you, by the way.
Oh no, I know that. I know. No, I'm just giving you my perspective. Is that regardless of what my late Gen X generation's take on Silver Surfer was coming out of the 70s into the 80s, that's why I said, even with that, Iger and his decisions with his writing team at Marvel and Disney is inept. Their optics on this were really, really terrible. So, generationally speaking, characters that haven't been done justice in on the big screen, in other words, and we can cite many, just like you did, they deserve their time in the sun, even on a day when it's going to be an eclipse. They can deserve their time in the sun. So I totally understand where you're coming from based on your experience with this character. I was just doing that thing I do where I'm like, hey, watch my sarcasm come out there for a minute. So
it's okay.
Yeah,
I'm sarcastic too, but just not with this.
I was gonna say, Paul, if you haven't seen his news reels that he does, they're fucking brilliant.
I have queued up his channel for when we're done.
Apologize in advance.
I think that's a good gateway into his videos for you, because I mean, I don't know if you'll be into the toy stuff as much, but you'll definitely dig his news reels.
No, I think I remember him when he was 5 years old and doing unboxing on YouTube and making millions of dollars. I think that's you, right?
No, I'm the guy that's not the poster child for YouTube success at all. I'm the guy that has to come out and say, so my strategy was to give YouTube middle fingers every day. And guess what? That's kind of been like a long-term slog.
Good for you. I like that.
There's a super chat. I guess this
yeah,
is
Destiny Captain says for $4.99, since we spoke about your content, which is fantastic, and you put a video out a little while ago that I enjoyed greatly. We have another chat talking about that. But before then, Michael, can you weigh in on what's going on with Hasbro and the toy worlds? And I do believe there's a Disney connection here.
Well, Andre, whatever connection you're making in your head right now, I'm dying to hear, because from what I'm hearing about Hasbro right now is simply that, their stock prices are shaky. They're trying to team up with some other companies like Mattel to cross brand promote, like Barbie Monopoly and things like that. Their prices are going up. Their quality is going down. They are sub-licensing brands they own outright, like G.I. Joe, to companies like Super 7 to make their toys for them.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it's a really weird time to be at Hasbro. They've had massive layoffs almost on the regular. But Andre, whatever your connection you're seeing or hearing with Disney, do tell, because I want to know.
I must have been. I must have confused them for some other company. I was like thinking, wait, didn't they have like some Star Wars license or something? No, they didn't, did they?
Who's that?
Hasbro.
Hasbro does have the Star Wars license, yes.
Yeah, no, because I thought that they had invested heavily into Star Wars or something, and the line had tanked completely.
Oh,
well, the line didn't help.
Oh, yeah. The line has been on a kind of like obligatory life support for years, because Hasbro has been tied to the Disney anchor. Like, so
don't they also have like a bunch of Marvel licenses as well?
Mm-hmm. Yep, they do.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Then I was right, because that's the Disney collection, because they of course have to pay through the teeth for both Star Wars and for Marvel, and you could get away with that for years and years and years, basically all the way since Ike Perlmutter took over Marvel with Toy Biz back in the day, and they transformed it into a boys brand. The Marvel toys have been really, really strong sellers for everyone.
Mhm.
Everyone that had a Marvel license or a Star Wars license later on, they really profited off it tremendously. And they
Mhm.
did so up until, I don't know, 2016,
Mhm.
2017, right around when they went woke. That's when it all went to hell. And my understanding, and here you correct me if I'm wrong, now when you see
Mhm.
where I was coming from here, that all of these layoffs and everything that Hasbro is suffering, obviously not all of it is because of Disney. No one is saying that.
Mhm.
But what I am submitting, what I believe that I understood, is that if Marvel and Star Wars, if those two licenses had continued to perform the way that they performed in the past, Hasbro wouldn't be having the kind of problems that they do right now, because those two alone, if they were as successful as they historically have been
Mhm.
and should have continued to be without the woke interference from everyone enabled by Bob Iger, that alone should kind of have bailed Hasbro out, no matter what happened to everything else.
Hmm.
Those two alone should keep the company afloat.
Yeah, the Hasbro's made a huge mistake over the last few decades of, aside from Transformers, kind of a not putting a strong emphasis on its in-house brands and relying on licenses. And coincidentally, both of those licenses ended up getting bought out by Disney. And so now Hasbro and Disney have this, you know, partnership where Disney's obviously got a firm hand in guiding that. But the real problem for Hasbro could be immune to, could, not is, could have been immune to Disney's content meddling if Disney's designs for the characters had any curb appeal. But Disney has not been bringing the curb appeal to these characters either, that would translate into appealing toys. So, like, yes, you've got bad stories coming out of Disney from Marvel and Star Wars, abysmal stories coming out that are super boring and super uninteresting and just flat out canon breaking and all that kind of stuff. But the real problem for Hasbro is that they also clearly don't have good production designers anymore. They don't understand what it is to create a compelling looking Star Wars character or a compelling looking Marvel character. And so it's a double whammy. It's like these movies and television shows aren't interesting, and the stuff that they're having to pull out of the IP to make toys from is also super uninteresting. And Disney has this, I'm speculating. I'm working on a video right now that's related to this. As an example, all of the 6-inch Indiana Jones figures that were brought out last summer to tie in to the resurgence in interest in Indiana Jones as Dial of Destiny was on the way. All of the characters that are based on the classic movies, they all come with GUNS, pew pews. They all come with those accessories. But then you get to the 4 Dial of Destiny figures, and some of those accessories that had already been accurately made for previous characters that happened to be from the earlier films, such as Donovan, the villain of Last Crusade. He comes with his PPK. Well, Mads Mikkelsen's character uses an identical PPK in Dial of Destiny. Well, even though that figure came out later, they only packed him with a briefcase, a literal briefcase with a shoulder strap over it. He's a super interesting action figure that any kid or adult would just die to have. All of those characters from which there are 4 from the Disney Indiana Jones film have no accessories like that to excite or activate the action figure for curb appeal. And you're looking at that going, okay, the action figures don't have interesting costumes because the characters don't have interesting costumes, and they're not coming with engaging accessories. So Disney has put Hasbro in a tough spot. I mean, just look at the action figure designs for the Andor action figure series or the Ahsoka action figure series. They're dying on pegs. They are dying on pegs because they are boring and vanilla and just blah. And so, yes, there is a connection there, Andre. So,
Yeah, that's the so. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna help your next video out a little bit right now.
okay.
If you go and because this is gonna be an eye opener for you, because
Mhm.
you just explain without realizing it.
Mhm.
You just kind of like explain something that we have in some of our previous videos. If you go and check out our fall of the MCU videos and basically how Kevin Feige has messed it all up, what he did is that he got rid of the influence of Ike Perlmutter, Toybus Ike Perlmutter, and the rules that he had for the Marvel Creative Committee, the ones who oversaw Kevin Feige and the MCU ever since the aftermath of Iron Man 2, right up until the development of Captain America Civil War. That's where that got disbanded, and Feige was able to outmaneuver Perlmutter. The first requirement that committee had, that Feige had to adhere to, was that all of the MCU characters be toyetic. Because
what?
Toyetic.
What does that mean?
You never heard that term before?
That means that the characters be so cool and that they have a design that translates to toys. And those toys, they have to appeal to two groups. One, they have to appeal to the young boys who are the target audience, and they have to appeal to adult collectors. And the assumption was, if you can appeal to those two groups,
well, they blew it.
No, they didn't. They succeeded completely for the whole time when they did. Then you will appeal to everyone. For instance, Iron Man, toyetic. Those toys flew off the shelves. Massive hits with adult collectors. Thor, those toys flew off the shelves. Massive hits with adult collectors. Hulk flew off the shelves, both for the masses, for the kids, and for adult collectors. Same thing with basically everyone in Phase 1, everyone in Phase 2. Michael, about when was it that the Marvel toys stopped selling? Because I know that they sold like hotcakes for the entirety of the time, and the requirement was that they be toyetic.
I want to just jump in and say that Phase 1, even though Disney was in on Marvel by the time Iron Man 2 was coming out, Disney's full effect on
this
Marvel.
had nothing to do with Disney. This is something that was predated Disney.
No.
Was
but I'm
Ike
saying,
Perlmutter
but I'm saying Disney couldn't stop the momentum of the Marvel franchise up until to the end of Endgame.
Correct.
So
that is why it was a delayed effect.
Yes, and my point is that there were interesting toys coming out during this period of time because the franchise seemed to be working for the audience. So there was a connection, but there was also, and you know this, Disney had a rule as to just how much violence could be in the movies in any of the Star Wars or any of the Marvel movies. They had I can't remember the document, but they fundamentally changed it. Iron Man 1 would never have been made under Disney's aegis. Okay? So, I mean, that I think had more of a profound effect on just the feel of the movies and how there was really no sense of danger in any of the movies because of Disney's rule to not make it too dangerous.
Yeah, true,
well, if I may, what I was going to get, here's the thing. See, toyetic, the MCU is pretty much toyetic up through Endgame.
Yeah.
And basically at that point things changed because then they thought toyetic means, just give them 3 or 4 different outfits so you can make that many toys, a couple vehicles, and you're fine to go. Because that's part of what toyetic means. Yeah, and that's part of what toyetic means, but the part they're missing, and I know this is where Michael could probably bounce off here, is you have to have things that consist of play sets, right? Things that you want to reenact from the film. Indiana Jones, jumping back to that, is a great example of how there wasn't jack squat in that new movie for a kid to go, I want to do the water disbalance. No, that's what makes something toyetic is all those things together where you have that they can build upon sets, vehicles, toys that go with those sets that are specialized for those
Well,
sets.
there was the adult diapers accessory.
But yeah, no, but Michael, go ahead. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like, I mean, you could have so many different things you can do with these toys. The more there is in the film that appeals to the boys and the tomboys in the audience, basically, they want to play with these toys. Than if there's nothing to do with them,
right? Like even Lego and Hasbro in 2008 had more to work with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where the toys themselves were very fun to play with. So
Right.
like Lego had the Temple of Akator set with the lifting pillars and everything, and the Hasbro set had that big jungle cutter vehicle that worked very well and looked very cool, and you could get that, and the action figures would interact with all those vehicles and stuff. You had that even if you were lukewarm on the film. The toys helped you world build your own scenarios and do all this cool stuff. Disney doesn't understand that. Disney has never been good at merchandising action figures for boys. They've never been good at it. They don't know how to make movies that appeal to them on that level. And like you said, after the momentum ended with Endgame, and now Disney had to figure out the Marvel phases going forward, its immediate face planting was evident. I mean, it was in the merch and on the merch side of things as well as the content side.
And that's where you can see it was no longer toyetic, because like for instance, Shang-Chi, the Eternals, how much toys did those sell? Because they're
still at Ollie's.
toyetic.
Yeah. The Eternals, you can go get almost all the Eternals right now at a discount store called Ollie's for $5 a piece, and they're still not selling. Like I saw it just a month ago. I mean, they're still there.
Dude, in the local toy store here and where I'm at, like they'll throw them after you just to get rid of them.
Disney bought Marvel. It's all well documented. Disney bought Marvel and Star Wars because Disney was a girl brand and they wanted to have boy brands. And because of internal politics and HR and how I've always said it, that strategy eats, culture eats strategy. That the Disney culture subsumed both Marvel and Star Wars and Lucasfilm, and they're no longer boy brands. So what are you going to do? And it's the boys who want to buy that kind of stuff. Girls play differently. We know that. Lego's research showed that boys embodied the superhero and basically did all the things that the superhero did, followed all the rules of the superhero, whereas the girls made the superhero them. We know that's what the research shows. It's not a bad thing,
right?
But what toys did they make? And then the other thing too is, you might research 2 of my videos on gear porn, whereas Disney had no longer the concept of gear porn. And I find, when you think of the Schwarzenegger Commando movie, and there's that one scene where all he's doing is there's I don't know how long it is, 5 minutes of him just putting bullets onto his body and arming up and things like that. That's a gear porn moment. And Disney doesn't like gear porn, doesn't understand the concept of it, took it completely out of Star Wars and Marvel. I will always say that one of the best things, notwithstanding Robert Downey Jr. not liking having a real helmet on for Iron Man 1, it made it feel real. And by the time you got to Endgame, he had that stupid nano suit.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you make the nano suit into put it into a box?
Yeah.
You can't do it. Iron Man was all about his stuff breaking down, running out of power, trying to find a way to fix things. It was the perfect gear porn character. And Disney didn't know what to do with it, partly because of Robert Downey Jr. just wanted to put dots on his head and have it computerized later because that was easy.
Right.
But it took away from making toys of this stuff. I mean, it's
the perfect one from Avengers: Age of Ultron. I mean, that was one of the greatest toys ever. And I never bought it, of course, but the Hulk Buster armor, that's a perfect example of what you're talking about.
Fantastic.
The Iron Man suit, where you have a supplement that comes and basically just gives replaceable parts as they get smashed. I mean, of course, that's where you can see the Ike Perlmutter mandate that it be toyetic, because they understood.
You mean you didn't want your Musical Planet toy set from the Marvels?
But that's a perfect example, Andre.
Yeah, exactly. It's so perfect that Michael had to be running to go get it right away.
You're gonna get a Hulk Buster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Hulkbuster was absolutely the
Do
perfect.
that.
See
You're
there,
born.
there we go.
This is Hasbro under Disney in 2015. This is Hasbro under Disney now. Look at that, everyone. Now, you might be asking, Michael, why do you have this? I bought it 2 weeks ago on an outlet sale because I'm doing a video. I didn't buy it when it came out. Hasbro can't even clear these. They've got them on deep discount, and you still won't want them. You'll want this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Disney
it was the
just
same
got-
thing with Shuri. I found a whole rack of Shuri dolls for
Oh.
$1 at Walmart, and I'm like, "There's no way Walmart's making any money on those." I guaranteed you they paid at least $1.50 or more just each. So
Disney
they're probably
won't
taking a
give
loss.
guns. Disney won't give any of the characters guns.
Well, that's part of the problem.
That's
Yeah,
I
and the
think
popcorn power, he wonders who the hell is the new character. I think he means. Yes, as others have suggested.
That's
Yes,
the Mad
that's
Mikkelsen
Oppenheimer.
character from.
That's Oppenheimer. That's the Oppenheimer action.
Yeah, this
figure
is
right
the
there.
bad guy from Dial of Destiny. He did actually have a GUN in the movie that they had already made the accessory for Donovan for his action figure, but they didn't include it with him because
He's even got a trigger figure. Look at that.
Yep, they never made just a standard hand, so everybody has a trigger finger hand. But most of all the Disney Dial of Destiny figures in the same line that GUNSs come with all the other figures, the Dial of Destiny figures don't have them. It's amazing.
Oh my god,
Wow.
that's hilarious.
And
That is hilarious.
They bothered to give him a shoulder bagged briefcase. Ooh, exciting! Like, oh, I can't.
He's gonna
wait.
brief Indy to death.
Yeah, he's like a really bad Clark Kent, basically. Like, he's like, if I
yes.
needed a Clark Kent, I could sub him in. Like, that's what he is.
At least put a sandwich in the bag.
Right? Yeah. So I can make him like 1930s guy. Like, I'm going to my corporate job and I have a hand meal. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the thing is, the company doesn't look like it's having fun. It doesn't feel like it's populated by people who are having fun. One of the fun things about Kamen Rider is every season you can guarantee you they got the new bike. Do you know Kamen Rider?
Yep.
Okay. Every season he had new gear, like the stupidest shit, ray guns and stuff like that. But they were 100% for the toy stores. He never even had the same gear each year.
Right.
They're all nonsense. Like but they're wonderful. They're joyous because they were designed to be sold. Capitalism at its best, without equivocation. It's not Bill Watterson worrying about his stupid little, oh, don't have Calvin and Hobbes on a t-shirt because I'm gonna melt. Oh no.
You're right, though. You're right. They used to innovate and really make toys. And when you have Star Wars movies that are coming out as soon as really right after J.J. Abrams aped everything from the original films as far as the hardware for Force Awakens, and you go into Rogue One, and they had some cool innovative stuff in there because Gareth Edwards actually cared about Star Wars. But then once you hit Last Jedi, suddenly there's nothing interesting visually in those films from then on out. I mean, the land speeder in Solo looks like one of those chalky heart candies boxes just laying on its side. Like there's no design work to it at all. Nothing is interesting about the costuming, the vehicles, anything. And so Hasbro wasn't able to move that product. They weren't able to sell any of it. And it also didn't help that Kathleen Kennedy and people like her kept putting the cart before the horse by they would leave Hasbro twisting in the wind more than once, where they would reshoot whole sections of the movie and things that Hasbro had planned and already tooled up and made would no longer be in these films, and they'd have to put it out anyway. And so Hasbro was finally like, we're not going to make anything for Rise of Skywalker, really, because we can't trust you guys to tell us accurately what's in these films anymore. We're losing our shirt on this stuff. Hasbro has really got they've got a huge albatross around their neck that is Disney movie studio. Like
there seems to be a trend, though, of every single showrunner that hates man. So, and I don't mean to jump the rails here, but look at Kurtzman Trek.
Yep.
What gear porn has come out of Discovery?
None. None.
Strange New Worlds. Maybe you got Pike's barbecue set.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from his his condo
Right.
in the Enterprise. But you take a look at OG Trek, and I'm not. And you had like phaser.
Mhm.
You had the bio device in sick bay.
Mhm.
You had the needleless
Yep.
injector, which I remember because I was scared to death of needles. So for me, that was that was the best thing in all of Star Trek, because that was
Right.
from the era. And you had the tricorder, you had medical tricorder, you had the geological tricorder.
Mhm.
I mean, they had the tablet.
Mhm.
I was about to
First
say, you had the iPad before they had the iPad.
iPad, the flip phone. Holy Jesus.
Mhm.
So please tell me, what in Discovery did they create other than that creature that you could stick electrodes in and jump space? Other than
And even
that,
that they stole from an indie game.
okay,
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
List
Tell me what Discovery gave the toy business.
Yeah, list every Sony superhero movie that they have not bothered to design so it could be merchandised. The list is endless.
Right.
They're trying to merchandise Ghostbusters, but those aren't coming out as frequently as these superhero movies. They literally designed the Morbius movie and the Madam Web movie where there was no possible merchandise for either of them.
No.
It's like, where are their brains at this point? This is the generational
Well,
problem in Hollywood.
And I just want to say, Michael, to the whole Morbius and Madam Web thing, there's no incentive for Sony to make those movies toyetic, because they don't have the toy rights. See, that's the thing there for them. They get, I think, a little piece of the Spider-Man rights with their new deal, but that's about it. Because before that, they got rid of all the toy rights like idiots.
Sure. but that in and of itself is part and parcel to superhero filmmaking. In other words, if they've been locked into a bad deal like that, then it's bad. It's a bad bet, since they don't have the writing.
And that's the thing. And I can't believe they didn't realize this. And Michael, I'm sure you have a lot to say about this, and I'm sure you've done even videos that touch on this stuff, to where basically you have an industry where, sure, your movies make, like, okay, let's just say it costs you $200 to $300 million to make one of these movies. They make $700 to $1 billion. You're walking away with roughly $300 to $500 million profit just on the movie. Okay, not bad, not shabby.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the day, this is what Lucas learned and everybody else learned for the 80s through the 90s, and that's where the term toyetic even comes from, Paul, just so you know. It is a real thing. Yeah, it is that the toys made more money than the fucking movies ever did.
Right.
You're talking in the billions. We're not talking millions, we're talking billions of dollars.
Yep.
Like, for instance, you probably have a good idea of what the Star Wars franchise was worth up until Star Wars. I have no idea, but I can imagine up to that point, it had been worth 10, 15, 20 billion dollars just in toy sales and shit alone. I have no idea. I'm just throwing numbers out there. But
and they were merchandising Star Wars for over a decade and a half when there were barely any Star Wars films out there. Like, the Star Wars merchandising train just kept going. And that's why I think Lucasfilm demanded that they buy Lucasfilm out for more money than Marvel at that point, even though Bob Iger didn't want to do it, because Lucas knew, look, this is a perpetual money machine. I've proven it. But if you mismanage it, which Disney does because they don't know how to merchandise anything, if you mismanage it, that's on you. But the potential here for money, even without movies and television, is endless.
But Disney did know how to do it, because number one, you go to the parks, there's a shit ton of things to buy. The Disney stores, I saw them in our malls. The places when they first opened, they were packed. They were princess stores.
Now they're failing.
Know how to merchandise.
Paul, you hit the nail right on the head there. They did know how to do it, and I do believe that those people who did know how to do it, they all got Me Too'd out of the company, were forced to retire for being white, white and old males, and got replaced by a new generation of executives who have no idea what they're doing.
Great example of what you're saying, Paul, Andre, and we'll go right to what Paul's saying. John Lasseter. You want to know why we got 3 fucking Cars movies? It's not because they're good. It's not because they made any money in the theaters. It's because they sold toys endlessly. The Cars franchise alone was one of Disney's biggest money-making toy franchises.
Cars 1 is the biggest money-maker Pixar movie.
Yeah,
exactly. And that's because of the merchandise.
Cars as a merchandising success for Disney for boys is an outlier. because Disney, while they have the ability and always have to sell plush Mickeys and Donald Ducks and dolls for their princesses, they've never had experience selling action figure world building for boys. They've never successfully done it, to my knowledge. And while Hasbro has made a good effort of it since Disney bought Marvel and Star Wars, the receipts are catching up with the toy side of this. Like, they can't perpetually keep this going with the damage that Disney has done.
Oh,
And they could have with Marvel.
And the irony is that Disney also hates pure princesses. That's the irony in all of this. It has to be some girl that don't need no man.
Well, and that takes us back to the DEI thing. And this is where we know there's outside money coming in, because everything DEI goes against anything about that would making women unfeminine does not sell princess toys. Making boys less masculine does not sell boys toys. So what are you doing here? You're selling toys to 0.3% of the population. Yes, there's those boys who would rather have a Barbie doll or grab the Easy Bake Oven before they'll grab a Hot Wheels or a G.I. Joe. But you also have the girls, exactly, and you also have the girls sometimes who will gravitate towards a Godzilla or a dinosaur before they'll grab an Easy Bake Oven or a Barbie, and same thing. You'll have that, but that is such a low fucking percentage. And the thing is what we've been saying from the start, and Andre's pointed this out pretty much already too, is that those things that the boys find interesting about the G.I. Joes and the Hot Wheels and all that stuff, those Tom girls will find interesting too. The moment you try to adjust it and try to make it for girls is where you screw it up. And we got a perfect example. If y'all remember, He-Man, I just picked these up yesterday. These are really neat, Andre, little He-Man dolls. But as we know, He-Man was destroyed when they decided to, let's do She-Ra. And instead of actually making She-Ra in the image of He-Man in the toys, what did they do? The Barbie department busted their way in the door and said, no, we know girls' toys. So let's do this. And what did they do? They destroyed the biggest toy brand that had existed at that point. Because people forget, and this is why they were so pissed, is because they had beaten Barbie in sales for the first time ever. Because Barbie was the #1 toy for years running.
Yeah, right up until He-Man came along, and the Barbie division swore that they would never be beaten by the boys He-Man division again. And after
they made sure of it.
They got their hands on She-Ra, that never happened again. That's so great success. Michael, can you? I want to do a couple of super chats here. Can you hold up that Mats Mikkelsen toy one more time?
I don't know why you'd want me to, but okay.
Oh, you'll see. You'll see. Tennille89 says, Indy, if he was a geography teacher who defeated the Yahtzees by diligently doing his taxes at them. How fun.
Interesting.
And Dyra says, Clark Kent or Western Union guy from Back to the Future? You decide.
Which is sad that we just lost him too, but yes. So fitting. Are you Marty McFly?
I've got something for you, Dr. Jones. A letter.
Yeah, no, it was like I just had to bring that up for those. We got a couple of more toy-related super chats.
Yeah, Back to the Future was fantastic for toys.
Yeah. Oh,
my kid! God, my kid has so many DeLoreans, man. You have no idea.
Dude,
I mean, Michael knows.
Doing like a build-it-yourself DeLorean right now, actually, and I'm not even that big a fan. The Forum 581 says for $5. I'm still seeing Wakanda Forever toys at my local Fred Meyer and Walmart. Yeah,
they can't get rid of them.
No,
nobody's buying them. Well, that's what happens when you have a movie called Black Panther that doesn't have Black Panther in it.
Yes,
exactly. And I believe we got this one. Tom, Marvel Legends won't make Mephisto due to offending.
I brought it up on screen, but we didn't.
Okay.
I brought it up on screen, but I didn't.
I'll read it properly then. Tom, Marvel Legends won't even make Mephisto or the cost of Hollow, just so we don't offend YouTube here, due to offending. Yeah, again, like YouTube. Yeah, there you go.
I can't believe they wouldn't do Mephisto though. That kind of goes against their.
But merchandising has been around. I mean, you had Tom Mix, you had all the cowboy guys. With their lunch boxes from the 50s and 60s. None of this was new. I guess Star Wars kicked it into high gear, and maybe even Toy Story 2 really energized the old retro. I don't know, Mike, whether you agree with me or not, but I thought Toy Story 2 really put into focus all these people who were collecting old turntables and old, cowboy boxes and lunch boxes, things like that.
It certainly
Yeah,
made me
they made
aware
a
of
whole
that
plot
community.
point out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Clubber in Time says for $5, there's a lot of misinformation about so-called female silver surfers out there. Spread by know-nothing shilts and Feige psychopaths, it's pathetic. Yeah,
It's
you're
amazing.
not wrong. Not
I
wrong.
am shocked.
And Scott Hughes says for $10, thank you so much. Andre, to see the current state of Hasbro, look at pictures from Ollie's close-out store. Yeah, I've seen those before. Floor-to-ceiling Hasbro figures that originally sold for 30
Wow.
bucks, now marked at $7 and $4, and still not selling. That's what I
Wow.
mean. And this is the Disney connection, because Disney ruined their own brand, but they got paid for it anyway. Hasbro are the ones who are left with the bill for it, because they paid God only knows how many millions upon millions upon millions for those licenses in the first place. And then they had to do all of the manufacturing and the designs and everything. And the end product can't be given away. No one wants it, and they can't even reuse any of it. It's a complete and total loss for them. And if Disney hadn't ruined their own brand, I submit that Hasbro wouldn't be in the problem they are right now. It's their own fault because they didn't build their own brands. But the other part is, as you said, Michael, they relied on external brands. And unfortunately, those were external Disney brands that Disney were tanking all on their own. And then we have Sebastian Skardheim, my countryman, who says for 119 krona. I've been having a MCU rewatch marathon recently. Great entertainment when you skip Captain Marvel and ignore everything but Spider-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy after Endgame. Yeah, exactly. You have to be much more selective with your own head canon, then it still works. The Form 581 says $5. I'm still seeing Wakanda Forever toys at my local Fred Meyer and Walmart. We got this one, yeah, exactly. And Chaos Sonic says for $10, Paul, it is more than just that every season of Kamen Rider is a new person, a new character. And the only connection is usually the crossover movies. Kamen Rider has a new gimmick every season for kids.
Well, that's what I was saying. It's a new gimmick. I mean, and then it's purposely made to sell stuff because the stuff is pretty cheap.
Yeah. And then Glade Driven says for $5, Hasbro CEO Chris Rocks is former Microsoft and has brought in a lot of tech executives from Microsoft and Zynga, and not cool executives like Chato. Yeah, there's a mistake right there.
Well, there's not a lot of old guys like me that's still excited about this stuff. I'm embarrassed. I apologize now.
Yeah. And Mike and Air says for $1.99, I know dick about Kamen Rider, Ultraman, and this bitch. So, yeah. And Andy Masterson, Toyman Supreme, says to me, I need to meet Retro Blasting. Yeah, I think that you could have a lot of fun together.
Are you aware of Andy in the community at all, Michael? He does figures himself.
Oh, okay, cool.
Oh my God, brilliant.
You're going to be impressed by what he does. Dude, this guy is Super 7 in one.
In fact, he does my official Batom figure.
Nice.
It is official.
Awesome. That's amazing.
Fully articulated for the ladies.
His Mexican Iron Man is brilliant.
Oh God, yeah. He's done Mexican Iron Man. He's done a bunch of YouTubers. He's done.
You need to connect with Andy. Andy is brilliant.
That's great.
It really is, yeah. And Olaf, one of our long-time mods, who's also been a member for 33 months, saying, girls watch boy-girl shows, boys watch boy cartoons, girls play in first person, boys in third. Girls dress them up like them, boys pretend to be like the toy. Yeah, that's a good question. And Rogue, or observation, and then for question, Rogue Thinker wanders to Retro Blasting. Do you cover Hasbro in the larger sense or just the toys?
I cover Hasbro in the larger sense because I've been made public enemy #1 by some of my takes on Hasbro, as Tom can tell you. So
yeah, Yeah, but no, Rogue Thinker, I can recommend Michael's channel, especially if you want the real deal and you don't want to be fed any BS like some of the other places. So, and Manchild News is what I was talking about, Paul. You do need to check those out. They're amazing. I think you'll get a kick out of them.
Yeah. And Mr. Tickletrunk says, Manchild News is one of my favorite things on the entire internet. Also, the talk you did about GoBots and Transformers was great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That was a Dragon Con presentation that we filmed, and it's on the main channel for everybody to watch and enjoy. So yeah,
well, all the innovations in 3D printing, 3D animation, programming are all from Manchilds. And I don't mean it in a derogatory way. And not that there aren't women doing it, but J.K. Rowling, to me, that entire series, Hogwarts, the Harry Potter, feels like a man-child experience. And you have to have that thought process and mentality and remembering your childhood and not being afraid to dive into it to be able to create this stuff. And that's you're just not seeing that in out there.
Right.
And Mr. Tickletrunk also mod says for $5 we need retro blasting and Andy Masters and on a stream just shooting the cheese about figures ASAP. Yeah, I'd watch that, and I'm not even a toy guy. But there was another thing here, and this goes to the video that you put out a few months ago that you also have to tell people about, that I know that Tom probably loved as well. The Wolfram Hawks, 79, been a member for 1 month. That's awesome. Glad to have you. Says, hail panel, hail chat. Hail retro for turning me on to damn fool idealistic crusader. Save physical media.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Wolfram, because when I did my video because I found that YouTube channel, and he's not very big, but he is a wealth of information about all the ways these movies have been mastered from format to format to format. And he's a great, almost like consumer advocate or consumer reports for, hey, if you really love X movie, you might want to stop at Blu-ray or stop at DVD because the mastering going forward for these, later formats is so unideal. So yeah, thank you for that. He's a really cool guy, and thanks for watching that video.
Yeah,
which is great that you just
the gist of it of the video. Everyone should see it.
But the gist. Sorry,
for those who haven't, give us the gist of what's in it.
Yeah, the gist of the video is that Warner Brothers used many DVD manufacturing companies at the height of DVD for quite a long time, but one of them ended up being a time bomb. It was in Pennsylvania. It was called Cinerama, and they did a lot of their movie box sets, their television box sets, a lot of their DC animated stuff. And unfortunately, this company, Cinerama, didn't manufacture these DVDs to industry standard. And so now we're finding that even when they're still in the shrink wrap, a lot of these Warner Brothers DVD sets have rotted in place. So if you open them up or buy them brand new at a discount, just new old stock, it's very possible that none of the discs inside will play or work, even though, as we know from owning CDs since the 80s that we've taken care of that still play and run just fine. This was supposed to be a format that was at least future-proofed for your lifetime if you took care of them. But unfortunately, this Cinerama company that did a lot of work for Warner Brothers, all of these DVDs are now the fail rate is very high.
I'd just like to tell you that Cinerama was a Canadian company.
That explains it.
Fault.
And all our frantics DVDs were pressed at Cinerama. I better go check my.
And you better send me a copy of those.
Do a scan of those right away.
Damn.
And send them to me so I have them for safekeeping.
Ooh,
like you were supposed to send me your CDs, you never did.
No, I didn't. I forgot. I had more important things to do, like flossing.
No, yeah, but I'm glad you found that damn idealistic crusader on your own, Michael. And what's funny, because when I stumbled upon him a few months ago, he reminded me so much of you in a lot of ways, where it's like you're no bullshit.
Yep.
Straightforward. know what you're talking about. Not only do you make the claims, but you back them up, right? Like you say, this is why this is this, and this is why I feel this way, or this is why this version is better than this version, or this is why this is the version you should go after because this. Not just, this is the way I'm just going to throw it out there, as a random comment because. And he is so pedantic, but in a good way. And I've talked to him and corresponded with him in the background a few times, and I've been trying to get him on a 4K for you, and it's one of the reasons the show just hasn't taken back off again. But no, I'm glad you did, because this is a problem that I've noticed in a few discs that aren't even on the list, because there is a list out there of affected discs. And you yourself did it. In fact, actually experience what you just said. You bought new old stock of, I believe it was Adventures of Superman season 4 and 5 or 6 or whatever it was.
Adventures of Superman, George Reeves, the last 5 and 6 season, I bought that when it was new, but I never got around to opening it all those years ago.
Then you bought it again, though. That was what it was, wasn't it? Or
well, I bought a World War II set that was new.
Okay, that's the one I was.
And that's the one where none of the discs inside the shrink wrap worked. They were all dead, even though the video set had never been played, the DVD set had never been used. And then I looked at the list and I panicked and I ran off to my George Reeves Adventures of Superman sets, and I opened the last one. There were 2 seasons I hadn't opened, 2 season sets, and I checked them all, and sure enough, that last one, 2 out of the 4 discs were rotted. They wouldn't even play.
Wow.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. So
wow.
And I still have mine sitting over on the shelf in the same situation. I haven't opened it since I bought them originally, and I'm going to here, and hopefully if I have any luck, I'll help you out. But this is something I think Warner Brothers needs to address.
Yeah, I've been helped by the guys over at the Last Call YouTube channel.
Cool.
His disc 2 and 4. So what I'm saying is I now have a full ISO backup of the whole George Reeves series. So if you run in, because what I'm doing now is I checked all of the sets, any TV sets that were done before 2010 from Warner Brothers, I've checked, because the timeline is 06 to 09. So I've checked them all. I found discs in other sets like Super Friends that weren't on the list that had also rotted. So, Tom, if you run into any problems, check with me, because I might have the ISO backups that you might need. Yep.
Because I'm also hearing, if you have the old Superman tin box set, I'm hearing that some of those are coming back now.
Yep.
Some of the other ones. See, I had National Lampoon's Vacation that's not on that list.
Mm-hmm.
That had a big, and it was a weird one because it wasn't even on the edge. It was right in the middle of the disc where the rot was starting.
Yep.
And meanwhile, Chato, you need to do those ISO backups of Atlantic's ASAP.
I have one already, because I'm the one who developed the DVD programming on it. So
okay. Oh, it's all good then.
So you have the original masters.
I have the original master.
That's why he's not in a hurry.
He's like, well, fuck, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm still selling them. I'm not going to tell anybody. I got to get them off my shelf.
What's funny is what you're saying is actually, because William Friedkin has this famous quote where he was talking to an interviewer, and an interviewer was talking about Oliver Stone saying that discs are only supposed to last 10 or 20 years. And he's like, the fuck is he talking about? You don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Because Michael's right. These should, in all theory, because I've got CDs.
Yep.
And this is exactly what Friedkin said. He goes, I got CDs that have been sitting on my shelf for 40 years and I can still play them. I've got DVDs from 25 years ago that still play.
Yeah,
full of shit.
RAM became very big.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're talking about is specifically what happens is in these plants is, for those who just kind of have no idea how these work, the information that's on the disc is actually on the top layer of the plastic, and then it's pressed with another layer of plastic to protect that. Mm-hmm. What is happening is the glue is separating those two pieces, and it causes what looks like a mold on your discs. That's why we call it disc rot. So just to kind of give a basic.
It's allowing,
and it actually was something people noticed during the Laserdisc days mostly.
Yes, and it's allowing oxygen in, which then starts to oxidize the data layers.
The aluminum. Yeah, that's what's happening, is the aluminum gets eaten away.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, because as you mentioned, terrible. I mean, I have CDs dating back to 1987, and since I take care of them, both the inlays and the disc themselves, they look factory new from 1987, and they play that way too. I never understood how people don't take care of their physical media. Like, I remember one time I borrowed a CD, a Marilyn Manson CD, to a friend of mine who did not take care of it the way that I did. So when I eventually got it back, It was a beaten and battered and bruised thing. And then I played it, and I played like that Beavis and Butthead song, the Glorious Symphony of the End Times, or whatever it is. And I was just listening to it, and after it had gone like 10 minutes, I was like, isn't this song supposed to end soon? And that's when I noticed that there actually was like, they had managed to scratch it, so it skipped. But it skipped in this perfect kind of place where you didn't really notice that it skipped.
So you're stuck in an infinite loop.
But it strategically went like a minute and a half back in time, where it just fit perfectly. So it went in an infinite loop. And it just took me like a while to notice that this song just isn't ending, is it? That's what I noticed. Yeah, if you're going to scratch something, that was one strategic scratch.
All I can say is
I've had that experience, Andre, and usually when that happens, I hand it right back to him and said, "You just bought yourself a CD or a movie." Anyway,
I did it.
Well, actually, you bought me one, a new one.
Well, yeah, I mean, they paid me for the one that they broke, and then I just go buy a new one. But anyway, you were going to say something.
I just want to say that every CD I've tried to play on my Thorin's turntable doesn't work.
That's funny how that is. I mean,
I can't get them to work. Like I put them under.
And that's why audiophiles hate CDs.
That's right. They're small. The needle is going back and forth on them. I don't get it.
You know what the thing is, Paul? What's funny about this conversation is that on the one hand, you're saying, you know, I'm the guy from yesteryear, I'm the Luddite and all this kind of stuff, but you've literally got a t-shirt of One Punch Man on. So you're clearly in the modern era. Like you're keeping up. So
like, he knows all this stuff. He's just being
all Mike knows. No, I'm
that's why we love Paul.
I
knew you two. I knew you two would get along very well.
Get radio kits, and when I was 14, I got from the Edmund Scientific Catalog a cosmic chamber kit that came with its own radium source.
Yep.
So once I got the dry ice and everything working and the lights coming in from the side, I could actually see the cosmic rays being hit by the radiation coming off the radium source that I would open up.
And this is why you can't have children anymore.
That is correct. So,
and then someone told him the story of Madame Curie.
No.
And it all came together for him.
Yes, that's
that
right.
Is the truth though. Back in the day, they used to sell us toys with nuclear waste in it and shit. Like, they didn't care.
Lawn darts.
They had real toys.
Real toys taught us how to be men.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the rules, everybody. This is a new game called lawn darts. These are steel darts with big fins on them. What's the game? You throw them into the air at each other. Oh, cool. All right, awesome. You know,
they had some awesome toys back in the day.
Just walk it off.
Gave away like radioactive materials and stuff like that, and the swing wing that gave you certified neck injuries and everything. So, yeah, I mean, toys were much more fun back in the day.
They would laugh at you if you said put your kid in a seatbelt. You're like,
there was a toy in my time called clackers, and it was two plastic spheres on a string, and you go whack, 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 whack. But at some point, they would just shatter, and shards would go into the kid's eyes.
And that's why they were discontinued.
They were discontinued for some reason.
That's why. That's the exact reason why. Yeah.
But you know, the thing too is, back not too long ago, technology was transparent. One of the worst things about the iPhones and the tablets and things like that is that they're so packed with technology, no one really knows how they work anymore and are not curious how they work. So both my kids, I showed them how the turntable worked, and so you know they had you know the whatever the Apple iPod was and things like that. But I would say, okay, take a look at this. I've got this record. I'm going to put this needle on this black piece of vinyl, and bang, wow, audio comes through. And there was like a direct connection. And you go, that's physics. Now, why is it working? How is it working? But I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to put a shitty record on top. Do not do this with any of my Supertramp stuff or I'm going to kill you. Is that I took a paper cone, put a sewing needle through it, and I asked the kids, what's going to happen? There's no amplifier. I don't have any kind of needle. There's no electronics. What's going to happen? The kids really couldn't guess. And I put the cone down, and shitty sound came out of the paper cone. So that caused a conversation. How does that work? How come I needed an amplifier for this stuff? How come it's able to give me analog sound out of a paper? You have none of those things. There's nothing that piques your curiosity anymore, because there's no physical connection. Not that anyone is necessarily going to go, oh my God, look how this record player works. But for a huge, group of people, maybe it did cause them to be curious as to why this thing happened. Now everything is obfuscated. You don't get it. You don't know what's going on. It's so miraculous, actually, that people take this miracle of electronics for granted.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's part of the vinyl revolution. Oh, yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
No, I think that we were heading in the same direction, Tom, because I just read that this year, like last year, vinyl sales outpaced CD sales. More vinyl was sold than CDs.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason isn't
really bad for the music industry, because not a lot of CDs were sold.
Yeah. No. Well, and that's because a lot of these kids now have grown up with only digital music. They don't even remember CDs. And I'm sure CDs are kind of making a comeback too, in a weird way, because they never had the experience of actually having physical media before. Physical media is really coming back with, the younger generation, and they're understanding it. They're appreciating it, right? Like we used to have, the vinyl albums, we didn't just break up our weed on those, they actually looked good too. So see, Paul got it. He's old enough.
I only heard about that stuff. I know nothing.
Bullshit. I've smelt your Pink Floyd albums. Anyway, no, and I think that's part of the deal is kids want to be able to have that in their hand, and it feels more intimate than when you're just listening to it on your little iPod or your phone or whatever, and it's digitized, and it's just it's convenience, but it's disposable, right? Like I remember when I was younger, you'd have to save up for an album, and you'd be pissed if you bought an album and the whole thing sucked except for that one single, right? You were always pissed about that. So then the acts knew that you had to really make a decent album. And nowadays, we've talked about this with the cultural stagnation. Well, there ain't been crap for decent music in years. I mean, I was just having this conversation.
I'm going to do a video about that. There's so many reasons for that, with the self-immolation of the music industry.
Yeah. Well, and as I was just having conversations, it's like even some of the biggest pop stars, if you think about it, even the more modern ones, they're still artists that are 10, 20 years old. None of them are new, right? None of them are modern.
Oh, 10, 20 years old, that is a new artist. I mean, the big ones are 30, 40 years old.
That's what I'm saying. Like outside of Billie Eilish and a spattering of a few others, and I think that's the other reason why I think K-pop is becoming so goddamn popular right now too. It's because the kids want something, they just ain't nothing for them.
I love Billie Eilish. The song "Nice Day for a White Wedding" is fantastic.
That was Idol, Billy Idol.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. To be fair, Miley Cyrus did a cover of it.
Oh,
yeah, she's with Billy Idol even.
Well, here's the sad part: is the best song right now, in my opinion, is Tenacious D's cover.
Yes.
Of "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time." That tells you where we're at.
But you know what? The thing is, the past is the past. It was fun growing up in a musical era where, when Carmen Appice would leave a band and go, "Oh my God, Carmen's left the band. What band is he going to join up with?" And you knew every band member. I mean, it was fantastic. I
you know why that was?
Played with Frank Zappa.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that was very much so because of the vinyl format, and everyone reading the liner notes.
Yep.
Then came CD, and you started paying less and less attention to it, because now suddenly you have the same information, but now it's itty bitty tiny. So now the only people who know all the members of the band are the hardcore fans.
Yep.
When Napster happens and CDs largely go away, and then it's no man's land. Then it's a winner takes it all. Then you're either the biggest star of the planet, or you're 1 in a million trying to make it and getting a contract due to your success on TikTok, that probably is not going to translate to anything else.
Although I would say that the illness started with the iPod, because I remember a moment where I saw 3 girls at a bus stop, and they were waiting for the bus, obviously, and they had one iPod, and the girl had her lanyards, and she would go, "Oh, you got to listen to this song," and she would give her 2 friends, split
Each
them
an
into
iPod.
like the headphones, so the other 2 girls listened to must have been 5 seconds worth of song, and then she went, "Oh, and you got to listen to this one. This is really," and then she would go, "Oh, and then you got to listen to this one." They never listened to an entire song.
Because they don't have attention span. I mean, it's all working together, and that's what TikTok is right now.
It's all disposable, and I fell into the same kind of problem when I had way too much music at my disposal. And there's one thing you guys forgot in between vinyl and CD, and that was cassette. See, cassette had this little moment in the sun, and that's what really ruined the cover art of music, in my opinion. Not only that, it killed the liner notes as well.
The one good thing about cassette is that myself and others, we spent days making mixtapes.
Yeah, no, that part of it was good, but
and it was portable. You could bring it in your car.
That part was
more
it too.
difficult with vinyl.
To me, at the end of the day, a lot of people make fun of 8-track, but I'm like, to me, cassette was almost as bad. To me, cassette is like the equivalent of VHS. It is horrible. Like, I'll take vinyl or CD any day over cassette. You know, or a reel at least. But even then, I couldn't afford that kind of shit, man. I'm like, yeah, no. But anyway, no, like that's part of the problem too. Is, and you're right, you're 100% right, Paul, because I fell into that same void of having so much music at my fingertips that I found myself not even listening to a whole song most of the time. And I would spend most of my time just skipping through music to find something I wanted to listen to instead of actually just listening to an album.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I do.
And then I found myself going back to older albums because I couldn't find any new stuff that had a full decent album.
Well, you can get almost everything on streaming now. I find it really convenient if I'm out there walking and I'll go, you know what, I want to hear
that part's cool.
Oh, you can get everything at the tip of your fingertips.
Right, you cannot compare that to me getting one of these new Beatle box sets they bring out where they take one whole album and they literally spread it over. Like, you've got the album remastered, all the outtakes, a Dolby Digital and Atmos version of it remixed in, you know, multi-channel sound and all this kind of, you know, all this different stuff in there, plus big, huge liner notes and stuff. And they go all out. Those are the kind of things I'm really enjoying now more so. Pink Floyd's done a few. I've got Elton John's got some. There's a few of them that are doing them. They're really elaborate box sets that are really nice, and you get to hear all the outtakes and earlier versions and stuff like that. It's really neat. So like that's kind of where I've found myself going back before, like a lot of the kids now. So I was like, oh, I would got back into vinyl again before you guys did, but okay. But me, it was just finding that stuff I couldn't find anymore.
I'm hoping there is going to be a revolution in new artists that come forward that not evoke the past, but create a new past that isn't necessarily totally dependent on producers creating samples and stuff.
Well, I think those artists probably already are out there. It's just that they're not getting attention. They're drowning among the masses.
You have a couple
because of the record industry and how it's mismanaged right now. You have a couple that are interesting, but
I just wanted to bring up like that one dude with the red-haired bearded guy who had that one song that was a big hit. I can't remember his name, but but the reason
Richmond, north of Richmond.
Yeah. And I think the reason he hit so hard, it wasn't because that song was anything that special or he's anything all that great. I mean, he's fine, he's great as an artist, but it's because he was genuine, right? He wasn't overproduced. It wasn't the type of crap we get out of everything now. And this is where I've told this story before, so I apologize, I'll keep it short. But like, I was in a store the other day, or about 2 weeks ago now, or whatever it was when I first told the story, and some song comes on that's clearly sampling the Mariah Carey song that was the song that sampled Mariah Carey that was originally sampling the Tom Tom Club song. So now we have songs that are sampling songs that are sampling songs that are sampling songs. And I said that to one lady at the counter. I was like, they really have hit this wall now. And she's like, well, it's not that easy to make new music. I'm like, yes, it is. It is not that hard. We've done it for hundreds of years. Like, why all of a sudden is it a problem when people can do so much more than they ever could before? Are we hearing songs that are sampling songs that are sampling songs? It's bullshit. It's like, yeah, sampleception, exactly, Ian. And that's not even a joke. It exists. I can't remember who did the news version of it, but you can tell they're sampling the different songs over the years. And it's like, yeah, that do you even know what the original song was that you're sampling anymore?
Well, that is funny, right?
Yeah, the only reason they know is because they had to pay him. You know what I
Very
mean?
often, they may be surprised because they thought that what was the original was itself a sample and a.
That's what I'm saying.
Remake, yeah.
And that's a good example because people have sampled that so many times from Mariah Carey, who sampled it from Tom Tom Club, not realizing the original version. Yeah.
And in the same way, there's people who find that they need to act or be funny or something. You will never stop people wanting to get together in some kind of band and create music. That will never end. What we don't have are A&R representatives who go out and nurture acts that go to a bar.
We have another thing as well. We have a record industry that right now disincentivizes bands. This is
True.
the problem.
But
this is the big problem. They still play, but they have a much harder time now getting a record deal and stuff like that because they're looking for the one with the latest hits on TikTok. So I think that with music, oh yeah, there's a bright future there. But the record industry or the music industry is rotten to the core right now, as bad as Hollywood or worse, and that needs to go.
Well, the other thing that killed it is, ironically, a Bill Clinton bill that allowed for the conglomeration of radio stations under just a few owners.
Yes, that was disastrous. And there's nothing ironic about that. Why would that be ironic?
No. Ironic that it was a Democrat and not a Republican.
Again, why is this ironic? That's what
I guess you're right.
It's
corporatization.
Power.
So you and Clear Channel came out. Suddenly you had only four companies, let's say, to approach. I remember a great Canadian band, you might have heard of them, Rush. Mm-hmm. Couldn't really break it in the United States.
Yeah,
and someone in Cleveland, a disc jockey in Cleveland, fell in love with Rush and just played them to death. And that's what sparked their success. There's also a sort of this mellow MOR huge artist. I can't remember his name. He's a guitarist. And he was getting nothing until a radio station in Florida started playing him. I'm trying to remember, not Michael. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Huge guy, huge. It starts with C. And that you can't get that anymore. You know, if you don't get on the mechanized, it's not Clear Channel anymore. It's iHeart.
I was just going to say, the problem with that, Paul, is because you don't have regional radio anymore. And this is
more regional radio.
And
this is where I lost out.
And that's exactly what Clinton did, as Chato pointed out, because that was the end of regional radio. And something similar happened in Europe. I know exactly what happened because I didn't really listen to radio or anything. But in Europe, we had one MTV Europe. And you know what that meant? You had the industries from the entire continent exposed to everyone on the entire continent. And that's when you had this really progressive Euro scene that was influential way beyond its own borders, because you had these little artists from Germany, from France, from Belgium, that no one would ever have heard about outside of their own national borders, were it not for MTV Europe portraying them or pushing them to all of Europe, and from there to America. But then what happened? Something similar, because MTV Europe was divided into regions. It was divided into MTV Germany, MTV France, MTV Spain, MTV UK, MTV Nordic. And then all you got were the local artists, and you got like the big, the Billboard hits and stuff like that, and nothing else. All of these other acts from all over Europe that you otherwise would have gotten exposed to, gone overnight when that happened. It was the exact same thing. It was a venue where so many cool underground artists could be discovered everywhere, just gone overnight. So that was what happened in Europe.
Yeah,
Well, on the radio,
I was mentioning
go ahead.
Christopher Cross was the story of the guy who got this phenomenal musician, not my style of music, but certainly a great guitarist and singer. He got his record got played in Florida, and suddenly he became huge. And sometimes these things take time. I don't think Christopher Cross would succeed now. One of the mind games I kind of play is with a show called The Voice, which I'm sure you've all heard of. And I'm thinking, okay, what if Neil Young now was on The Voice? Would anyone turn around? Bob Dylan, would anyone turn around?
And I know exactly what you're getting at. Yeah.
And I'm going, these, not a single star comes out of The Voice. Not a single person makes it into the industry.
It's funny because I was just going to say Christopher Cross probably wouldn't have made it to the final rounds on American Idol, but you brought in The Voice instead. But same difference. Exactly. Yeah.
You would never. Jimi Hendrix, would they turn around for him?
No,
that was a little loud, Mr. Hendrix.
Yeah. No, but what you're talking about there, Paul, is exactly what I experienced when I tried to getting into radio. And at my end of it was just that the jobs were drying up, right? There was no more jobs left. Right. And what it was all these stations were turning over to satellite feeds. It started with just a couple hours at night. And then it was the morning show and at night. And then it was all the night show all the way up until the morning show. And they'd only come in at around noon to do the main news and then they'd leave. So it got to a point where there was literally just somebody there pushing a button at the office every once in a while. Yeah. That was all it was. So and that's what happened is you have no more regional hits where these guys would, start, big in an area. And then, okay, so Chicago, and then you'd notice, Pittsburgh would start playing them, then New York, and then, then they get up to Washington and everywhere else. And then you start hearing them on all these stations. And that's how a lot of these bands like Christopher Cross, you were just saying, it's a great example of somebody who that exactly what happened to him. Yeah. And that's what that used to happen. And it doesn't happen anymore.
The punk era and the record execs were going, this isn't going to fly. This is.
But he did the theme to Arthur, and the rest is history. So there you go.
And a lot of prog rock was broken through Montreal and Toronto because we had this FM stations.
And college used to be a big tube for a lot of new. College used to be a big tube for a lot of new music too. They used to have radio stations for colleges, and those.
I was a DJ at Ryerson.
Gone the way of the dodo too. But we got some super chats here. Let's see what you guys are talking about. We got a massive super chat. Holy crap.
Oh my God.
From CO92 for $49.99. Thank you. The CO92 says, this is an unpopular opinion, but I'm getting sick of people using children excuse for their first world problems. George Carlin was right when he said that people who pull the children card only do it just to censor things they don't like. I see where you're coming from here on this. The one exception I will say to this is we've gotten to a point where the line could probably be blurred a little bit here, where some people are probably using the child card a little too much. But in other cases, there's times where it needs to be pulled a little bit more often now, especially when it comes to the DEI, Disney bullshit, some of the other things that we can't really talk about on YouTube.
Yeah, story time with
story time and medical procedures, for instance, and stuff like that. See, those are things where I think, things need to be said, and we do need to protect the kids a little bit more. But other times, some of it's just some pearl clutching or parents just not wanting to do their job. Right now, on the Disney side of things, though, I will give parents the pass because for the better part of 100 years, Walt Disney was synonymous with family entertainment, right? And I've said this before, so I'll keep it as brief as I can. You used to be able to throw, your kids into a Disney movie or in front of a Disney movie, knowing full well that nothing in that movie is going to be bad for them. It's going to be fine. There's not going to be anything controversial in it. Nowadays, Disney movies or Disneyfied means there's probably going to be some dick sucking by a dude in there, right? Like that's the problem now. And parents are aware of this now, or they're slowly becoming aware of this problem. And that's where I'll give them a little bit of a pass. But at the same time, yes, I see where you're coming from here. And a lot of times these excuses are just used for parents not wanting to do their jobs.
Yeah.
And I know we have some parents on the panel here as well, besides myself. So if they want to agree or disagree, that's up to them.
Any thoughts on this? And I know that Mr. Chato has to be leaving us.
I have nothing to add.
Well, you were a parent for many years. So you know the
And top dick sucking.
you can't top dick sucking. Well, I don't think anybody can. And yeah, I don't think I see any more specifically for you, Paul.
Well, there is towards the end here.
Is there?
Here's
Okay.
a reference to you. Packing Protons.
there we
It
go.
says for in two super chats for 10 each. Thank you so much. I
Wow.
heart sucked. You can't run local radio like a multi-state corporation. It doesn't work that way. The Scott Shannons of the world that discover new music, like Paul said, don't work like that.
Nope.
Followed up with, my stations I helped out were WPLJ and WCBS. Race Taylor doesn't even come into the studios anymore. He does 1 minute breaks from home. Now
Yep.
Soros bought them. Oh, yeah, well, brilliant.
It's
I
the
know
worst
exactly what
thing-
you're talking about, dude.
worst
Yeah.
thing that could happen. There are DJs who sit in their kitchen and are managing 4 different stations through, all 3 time zones.
Well, the new gimmick now, Paul, it's not so much new. It's something they've been doing for a while. The gimmick now, Paul, is like they'll have actual celebrity DJs. So like Alice Cooper is one who has like a
He's been doing it for a while.
but they have other ones now that they're copying that gimmick on other stations and stuff too. And yeah, it's just to me, it's taking away a big part of what it was like to grow up. And I don't know what it was like in Europe, but like here it was like the top 40 station for you when you're a kid growing up. You listen every night. You and your friends are listening at the same time. It's all localized. The DJ would usually have his own in jokes. Like the one station we had, you could actually call in and do a shout out to your friends on the radio. It was a lot of fun and stuff like that. I don't see that anymore. I think kids are missing that kind of a thing. And we're getting deeper into this in another video, I know, in the future, Andre, when it comes to the, how kids are doing a lot of stuff. But no, I just thought it's just sad that they don't have that anymore, I don't think. And it's more their communal thing, right? I think they're missing that.
Well, they have something else though, because they have the world at their fingertips.
Yeah, they do.
But they don't. But they can't.
But I think that's part of the
right,
problem.
Yeah. It is.
But they know how to find bands they love. Like they could go to pirate.com and they'll get all the LA bands.
But it's not the same as hearing like a band for the first time with your friends at the same exact time, even though
on
you're
the radio.
completely on the other side of town, right?
It's a very
calling up your friends. Did you hear this? This is Kiss. What the fuck is this? Like
totally get it.
Yeah.
I completely. When I first heard Queen, I just
oh god, yeah, that would have blown my mind too.
Boston. We're not getting those moments, and I mean it's nice to be. To have grown up in that time. I mean, AM radio was the big thing, and FM came into Toronto, Chum FM, and they had so few advertisers that the DJs would just play whole album sides. Yeah, and I remember one time Reiner Schwartz went to the pisser and didn't come back in time to catch the end of the album. So for about 5 minutes, all we heard was.
And you think he was in the pisser?
And then Reiner came back, but he was really cool about it. Hey man, I'm sorry. I didn't know how long it was going to be.
He was getting a blowjob, dude.
Probably.
I guarantee you.
Probably. See, we're always on that one. You've got a one-track mind.
I was a DJ. I know.
Thank you very much for having me as always, and Mike.
We love you, Paul.
To meet you.
Nice to meet you finally.
If this was a Hollywood moment, I would have lied about not knowing you, and I would have gone, "Oh, Mike, great to see. I love your stuff, Mike. Oh, it's so good."
That's why in the brief less than 2 years that I worked out in Hollywood, I never went to a gym, but worked in Hollywood as a PA and a script reader and assistant for Vertigo and a few other places. I knew I wasn't going to be able to play that game. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. So yeah, I appreciate you acknowledging that dynamic and then not doing that. So yeah.
I'll do it from now on. Anyways, thank you very much, everyone. Talk to you later.
Chato is the best. Everyone check out his 2 channels. Yes. Call Me Chato and Appalling News. You'll be glad you did every single time he uploads a new video. It's an absolute blast. We love Paul here, so yeah, thanks for being here and gracing us with your presence.
Hi, everyone.
It's great meeting you.
And no, I wouldn't say that Mizu. I just know it doesn't take that long to piss. And you know when you're going to take more than a few minutes, that's when you throw on like American Pie by Don McLean or something like that. When you know that means something unexpected happened that took him a little longer. Than usually it has something to do with a woman. That's all I'm going to say.
Wait, who are we referring to?
Well, in this case, just DJs in general.
Oh, DJ. Yeah.
You know, they got groupies.
That's true. That's very true.
That's also something bands don't get today the same way that they used to in the age of rock and roll. I mean, like modern day rock bands and stuff, they have to be a little bit more. They have to work a little bit harder to get groupies in the first place. I mean, there's still groupies that are going to throw themselves over anyone who's a star, but not in nearly the numbers that there used to be before. Like, for instance, Gene Simmons goes and brags about like he's lain with like 4,000 and stuff like that. Yeah, that's not happening anymore. No one is going to be able to top that, no matter how popular, because rock and roll is different today.
Yeah. There's the audience now has been fragmented, much in the same way that you know, when we had these things called magazines, the late stage of magazines was everything was so specialized and so narrow in focus at the magazine rack that there was no longer any common news like there was common channels to watch. And so similarly in that analog world, you no longer have a communal experience of everybody being able to discuss, you know, some of these big movements and trends that would go on. Now everybody's kind of in their silo.
I didn't even really know
are
what's
changing,
right? Yeah,
but Ron Burgundy had never heard that song.
Well, I don't think not.
Nice pull there. Yeah, no, I didn't even notice that about the You're right about how magazines there near the end of. I mean, they're still published magazines, but really we can argue that publishing is pretty much dead.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I didn't think about that how that happened. But you're right. But let's get to some super chats. What do you guys say?
Yeah, let's do that.
Patrick Robinson sent us in earlier. Sorry it took so long to get here, but we appreciate the support. It sends in $4.99. Says, saw First Omen over the weekend. Great movie. Would definitely recommend. Well, there you go. I've been hearing some semi-decent things about it, even though the actress said some stupid shit. But yeah.
Oh, what does the actress know?
I know. But this is another one that is completely oblivious, because for those who don't know what I'm referring to, she said, it's about time women had bigger roles in horror.
Yeah, it's never happened before.
Like, have you not ever seen a horror movie before?
Have they not heard of Final Girl?
Exactly.
Like, yeah. I mean, I had the pleasure of meeting Heather Langenkamp, and I think she would take umbrage with the idea that there aren't enough women in horror. I really
Absolutely. Do. And I've seen her make those points about how in a time when most, you had action stars and comedy stars were all men, and horror was one of the few genres that had women as leads. And in some cases, even though they were known for being provocative, those leads generally weren't the ones showing off their tits. You know, they were generally the ones that were more conservative, for lack of a better term. And they were the ones that saw their way to the end. And whether it was because they were smarter, whether it was because they were less distracted, that can be up for debate depending on the movie. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole genre based around that whole slasher genre is based around the final girl, right? It always has been. To the point when they do with the final guy, it always comes off as gay or weird. So Nightmare on Elm Street 2 being a great example.
One of the greatest achievements in LGBTQIAP plus cinema.
It was completely under the radar of the people who were making the movie. See our Robert Shea interview for that. And I'm sitting here going, Rob, when you're sitting there shopping with your own daughter at a fucking leather shop, don't you think you were starting to think maybe there's something weird about this movie?
Yeah. And for those who don't get what Tom is referencing, he's referencing our interview with Robert Shea, the founder of New Line Cinema and the producer and cameo star of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Yeah. So do check that interview out.
Yeah, where he plays the leather bartender.
But for better or worse, we can't deny that Nightmare on Elm Street 2 has inspired so much discussion from a behind-the-scenes screenwriting and filmmaking perspective. I mean, it's gold, Jerry. It's gold. Like,
Well, it's lovely because you got Robert Shea and the director going, we had no idea this was gay. And then you got the writer and the actor going, oh yeah, we totally knew it was gay.
Yeah, the writer is like, oh yeah, I totally wrote it that way. So it's fully intentional. What he didn't intend, because he said this in interviews, yeah, he intended it to be gay, but he intended it to be subtle. He didn't intend for the actor to actually be as gay as he was and play it as gay as he was, which the actor didn't mean to do. He was just playing himself.
Well, I think the moment when I think his name is, I'm trying to remember the name of the character. Either way, the more butch guy that he has to fight with in the beginning part and then near the end, they're friends. When he comes over to his house after he freaks out and he's like, yeah, you have this beautiful woman out there who wants to sleep with you, and you're here with me. It's like, I think that's kind of the moment we realize what's really going on here. Like, I think you're muted, Mike. Oh, no, never mind.
What was your first clue?
That.
Yeah.
That, and when he's like, there's something inside me and it wants to get out.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on.
Moving on. We have to speed up a little bit.
Yes,
here,
we
so
do a little bit. Sorry about that.
Can catch the
Sonic One says for $5. That's true. Hello, everyone. So you guys know about Bridge, a situation, aka DI's new evolved form. Because let's just say, best to talk now before it's too late. You're not wrong.
It's already too late. So what we can do now is inform people about it, so you know what to look out for. But make no mistake about it, it's already too late. The reason you are hearing about it, it's because it's already has been implemented.
Yeah, and Pilgrim Media here sends in 5 and says, Andre, are you aware of the newest iteration of DEI? It's called Bridge, and it's a much worst version of woke.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, no, because again, as Larry Fink has said, they're moving away from the terms ESG and DEI, but only the terms, not the policies. They're doubling down on the policies. They're just not calling them that. So now everyone needs to learn Bridge, and it's far more insidious. And that's because they're.
I think it's ironic that they're doing this and then that Bridge incident happens. I think that's
a bridge to nowhere.
Sign.
Yeah. Scientology.
Coffee Lover's been here for 15 months. Thanks for the support. And then Dash Attack says April is a big month. I think it means get a bunch of games or have a bunch of games coming out. Fallout show and Knuckles on Paramount Plus. Let's see what Disney has. Oh, nothing. Well, aren't we getting that Tales of the Fempire?
The what?
When does that come out? Tales of the Fempire animated series. You guys haven't heard about that?
No.
Nope.
This dropped the same day as the Silver Smurfette news, right after the vote. They have a new series, and it's a spin-off of Tales of the Jedi. It's called Tales of the Empire.
Who cares?
I've been calling it Tales of the Fempire, because as you see from the trailer, within the first 5 seconds, it's going to be about 2 victimized women.
Of course.
Basically. So yeah. I don't remember when that comes out, but yeah.
It doesn't matter because no one's going to be watching it.
Yeah. Otherwise, they have the movie Planet of the Apes coming out next month, I think, and that's about it.
Frankly, I honestly know that a lot of those Apes films have done really well, of the relaunch, but I'm shocked that they're still pushing out those sequels. I'm not saying because they're bad or anything like that. I'm just genuinely surprised that they haven't totally rebooted that series or anything yet, because Hollywood doesn't have an attention span anymore. So I am stunned that series is still on a continuing path rather than being reimagined yet again.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the reason this is happening is because a lot of this stuff was already well ahead in pre-production by the time they bought Fox.
Mm-hmm.
It was just something they could recycle and get moving again.
Right.
And the other thing that bothers me from the start is the only thing that really had me interested with the other series was Andy Serkis was a through line, kind of like Roddy McDowall in the original series, where you had that mainstay, and he's gone now. And I'm like, not only is he gone, it's like, why is he not directing them now? I mean, he's proved he can do it. I mean, a lot of people liked his Jungle Book movie and stuff like that. So I don't know, but yeah, no, I'm a huge Apes fan, but the last 3, I was I thought they got worse with each one, but yeah. I thought
Oh
the
yeah,
first
yeah.
season-
They didn't. I'm not saying that they were all uniformly.
No, they were decent though, but
yeah.
like as they got along, I was kind of like less and less enthused with them or whatever. But I did like Woody Harrelson in the last one. I thought he was really good, but
Right.
no, I mean Andre's never even really been a fan of the new ones either. So,
Well, hell no. I mean, I'm done with the monkey movies. I mean, they needed to stop doing them about 20 years ago.
Yeah, but Andre, if they don't keep doing them, then they won't eventually have enough monkeys to put in front of typewriters to finally write a good movie.
Well, maybe it's time they give someone else a try.
True. True.
What's sad is I've seen a bunch of the footage from this new Apes movie, and it doesn't look as good as the other ones. That's one thing the other ones had going for them, is that they paid a lot of attention to the special effects, and that's what's kind of one of the things that sold them was the very photorealistic CGI they had with the apes. And I'm not seeing that here in this. This looks more like rubbery animated stuff, and they're dropping a bunch of clips and stuff because they're promoting it.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up, Tom. What is what I know we talked about this back when, not us literally, but the community talked about this back when Thor: Love and Thunder and a few others were coming out. What has happened with Disney's ability to even just deliver convincing visuals?
I think the problem is they have too many people who use CGI now as previs and don't know how to do previs. Because that's what we're hearing from the animation side of things, is that they'll deliver what they consider the finished product, and then they'll go, yeah, but we want this, and then you got to do this, and can you change this color, and can you have him do this instead of that? And they'll be like, this is the finished product,
right?
And they're like, no, we just want you to do this, this, and that. It's all I got to do. And so that's basically been this is supposedly one of the reasons why Victoria Alonso was fired. Is because that and I think this is just across the board. I think a lot of these filmmakers now have become so accustomed to CGI and stuff, and they think it's just you just push a button and it happens.
Right.
I don't think they realize the amount of work and planning. And here's a great example. I just watched last night the remake of Mighty Joe Young. And there's some CGI in that movie that looks 10 times better than any CGI I've seen in movies in the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And that movie came out in 1998, kids.
Yep. The CGI was as carefully applied as optical effects were back then, because the people working on them still looked at special effects as a very exacting science. It was like, we've got to get this right in every way possible to convince the audience of what we're showing them.
Yes, and what Davina is saying, here's the other problem. The other problem is, here's a great example. The original Jurassic Park has between 52 and 54 CGI effects shots, depending on who you ask. That's it. The rest is all practical.
Yep.
The newest Jurassic Park had closer to 5,000. It was somewhere in the 3,000 plus or 4,000 plus shots. I can't remember exactly where I looked. That tells you part of the problem right there.
Yeah.
When you have that excessive amount of CGI involved compared to the old stuff. And that's the other thing I noticed watching Mighty Joe Young as well, is how much was actually practical.
Right.
Because Rick Baker built a full-size Mighty Joe Young suit. It was fully animatronic and all that stuff. He couldn't move fast, like, so the fast-moving scenes and, you know, the more wider shots, they would use the CGI, but in those close-ups and all that other stuff, and when he's just moving at a regular pace and stuff, it looks fucking amazing because it's really there. And they're really interacting with him, you know?
Yeah.
And it makes all the difference.
100%.
Yep. But anyway, we need to keep moving because we got a lot of super chats here. Thank you so much, guys, for being so generous. Taylor Swift is greater than Disney, Star Wars, and MCU. Has gifted a membership. Thank you for that. Speaking of members, we got DS4, who's been here for 29 months. We've got Kathleen Morrison, who's been here for 14. And Mario Trillo has been here for 15 months. Thank you so much. And are we going to be doing the redo on the member stream tomorrow, Andre?
Tomorrow or Thursday. Probably Thursday, okay. I think it's more likely.
All right. Ram Bam 3000 sends in £2 and says, "Hail Doomcock, good to see you again, my liege. Sorry, you sent it in, I think, after he had already left."
Yeah, it was sent in just as he was leaving.
Yeah, but
there were two such, and both have been clipped and will be sent to him.
I was going to say there was two more that were here for him that I also am going to send to him. Chaos Sonic says, "One last thing for Doomcock for Kamen Rider to start. I recommend Kamen Rider Black. RX, Kamen Rider Kuga, if I'm saying that right, and Kamen Rider Exade and Kamen Rider Build. So I screenshot that and I'm going to send that to him along with this one from Big Daddy MRI. It says, Hail Doomcock, glad to see you here this morning. Rumor is we have an eclipse region of totally over the hill country. Enjoy. Well, that's probably why I had to leave so early. He's got plans. I mean, you don't become a super villain by just wasting an eclipse. Can't just let a perfectly good eclipse go by without utilizing
Those eclipses
somehow.
are decades between each time, and you want to take maximum advantage.
Exactly. And it's getting pretty dark where I'm at right now, too. Yeah. So moving on, though, speaking of, I'm sure some people are going to want to check that out, especially on the East Coast as it moves along here. We've got this one here from Dash Attack. It says, Tom, if you got a good relationship with Brutus, tell him I'd love to have him on my show to just talk to him about gaming and Chris Kindred fiasco. Well, actually, Andre's been in more talk with him than I have, but I have just talked to him the few times we've seen on the show, and he had asked me that last show, so I've been kind of just racking my brain of thinking how we're going to simplify that like he does the gaming side of things. So that's been my thing. I've been before I really get into it with him, but you can always hit him up yourself. I'm sure he has an email as well, and that generally helps. Yeah, there you go. And then we got Staccato DDS who sends in $9.99 who says, I enjoy your informative videos. There we go. Help.
Keep
Up the
up
great
the
work.
great work.
I was just going to say, I think that's what it means. Yep.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Staccato. Sorry your phone or your computer's being a butt. I know how that feels. My phone hates me. Andre knows how that is. I'm sure he has a few laughs at that. Considering.
Yeah, after I understand, yes.
Yeah, once you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
No, I'm not trying to say choke the chicken. Last call with Troy Pacelli says, and Tom, if Michael, is Michael still here? I'll save that one. We'll come back around to it. Because I know he had to step away for a minute, I believe. Troy has also been here for 13 months, though. Thank you for that. And then Packing Protons says, no one remembers the best toy ever, Orby. Roofs ate them for breakfast. Yes. We also need a return of 8 tracks. They sounded good too. Oh, you're just trying to trigger me now. I know that. I'm not falling for that bait. Chaos Sonic 1 sends in 5 says, Andre and Tom, will there be a video on Bridge from you guys? I think Andre's got something.
Yeah, there will be. I just have to get around to
Bridge mix
it in between all the other, but yes, of course, of course.
Kalechioki or Kalekioki, however you say it, sends in $4.99 and says, why would kids listen to radio when they have stuff like YouTube Music, Apple Music, and Spotify pay a monthly fee to listen to any song on the podcast? Absolutely. Well, this is part of the problem, though, as far as a collective thing or people, sharing similar tastes or finding people with similar tastes. Sometimes it can be a little more difficult, or, just that shared experience you used to have as a kid. You're just doing your own thing and finding your own thing, which can be fine on your own, but if that's all you're doing, I think that's kind of detrimental to growing up as a kid. And the funny thing, he brought up YouTube Music because this story dates back almost 20 years. I'll keep it as short as possible, but one day when I was working at a video store, a mother and I were talking about something, and music videos and MTV came up. And her kid's standing there and she goes, "What's MTV?" or no, first she goes, "What's a music video?" And we're like, "Oh, like a music video when they film the singer, usually in like a dramatic or whatever kind of situation, like on MTV." And then she's like, "Well, what's MTV?" And then eventually we tried to explain that. And then she's like, "Oh, you mean like the videos we see on YouTube?" So already 20 years ago, kids had already bypassed MTV, and MTV wasn't a thing. Well, that was their fault for not playing music anymore. And kids have already been just discovering things on YouTube. And I know that's part of the way, wasn't it? How Taylor Swift got so big as well was YouTube, if I'm not mistaken.
Of course, you have to keep in mind, MTV hasn't been a thing for 2 generations now.
Yeah, no, and they did it to themselves.
Yep. They forgot that there was. They forgot that they were literally music television.
Yeah, they did it to themselves and to the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny is it kind of correlates with Paramount buying them out. The moment Paramount bought them is the moment they started doing less and less and less and less music, to the point where I can't remember what I told you, Andre, when I was doing a little bit of digging into that. It was like within like 2 years, I think it was. There were over 80%, I think, of their programming had nothing to do with music.
Yep.
Like things like Beavis and Butthead were the only things still showing music videos at that point. It was sad.
Yeah.
But and other than overnight, like that was the only time you could catch videos anymore.
It was pathetic to see them deteriorate the way they did. I was getting irritated with them as early as the first season of The Real World. I was like, what's going on with this channel? And I didn't realize
Paramount.
Harbinger.
Paramount. Yep, they did that. That and also the real world spawned all that other shit like 16 and Pregnant and the Addicted show and you name all those shows were all Paramount pushing more and more shit and because they were cheap to make.
Absolutely. I'll be right back. Sorry.
No worries. We're almost done with these anyway. So go ahead and take care of what you got to take care of.
It's the better half. I'll be right back.
No worries. Guruk is here and sends in 5 and says, have you guys heard anything about the new season of Orville? I did hear rumblings that there might be a 4th season happening. Other than that, I have not kept up with it because I didn't even watch the 3rd season. I watched the first episode and I hated it.
Well, I thought that it actually ended on a high note. But,
I may have to go revisit it, but like I totally was upset. I'm like, oh god, this show went woke too. I'm done.
Well, here and there, but on the whole, I thought that season 3 was a good one.
Well, maybe I'll have to check back in with it then.
A good one.
But yeah, no, I've been hearing rumblings. Maybe I know I heard for a while they talked about like a straight for streaming movie more than a part or season 4, so more like a what would be basically a shortened season, I suppose. But no, I wish I knew more about this, Guruk, and obviously Andre doesn't, or he would have chimed in there. So I apologize.
Yeah, no, I have no idea. Hoping for the best because that's the closest thing that we have that's reminiscent of Star Trek right now. And the way things are going, it's the closest thing that's reminiscent of Star Trek that we're going to get. Too bad that Seth MacFarlane, he's very, very connected to reality on most issues, but he's completely deranged on others. And that is affecting the Orville somewhat here and there.
And then before we go, I saved this because Michael, you had stepped away before. Troy Pacelli says, and Tom, if Michael doesn't have an ISO you need for Adventures of Superman, check with me. I'm here for you. And yeah, I'm sure with this community, that's going to be the only way I think we're going to get around this. Don't you think, Mike?
Yeah.
Michael, sorry, I should have.
No, I don't mind Mike. That's
fine. I know. I should ask though. I usually do before I just do
tell me by my last name and we're good.
No, we're good. But yeah, no, like I think that's the only way we're going to get around this because I don't think Warner Brothers is going to own up to it. In fact, here's a great example. They have quietly, for those who don't know, and I just learned this from Bill Hunt the other day, quietly fixed the Rocky discs without telling us.
Yeah, I saw that too.
When you say fixed, do you mean absolutely destroyed?
No, they had fuck ups. They had fuck ups in all, but I think it was Rocky 3. But they must have had something I think in Rocky 3 that they fucked up too. That I can't remember. But basically, it had to do with all the audio tracks were at the wrong pitch for like 2 of the movies, and I mean not just the English track, but like all of this foreign language tracks and everything. And then in Rocky 4, they screwed up on. I'm surprised they actually fixed that because that was just a minor snafu. That was just where one shot goes completely out of aspect ratio, but you don't notice unless you're paying attention because it's literally just the bottom of the screen has a little bit of black on it, and then it doesn't, and then it does. That's all it is. So they actually fixed that too.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's the whole thing is that these companies, from what I read, they speculated that the reason Warner Brothers bothered to even fix all this at all was because they're planning to do the full 6-movie set at some point. Yeah. So.
But I've heard the newer sets have the fixed version. So if you've bought it, there's no way of differentiating them, though, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And if some people have gotten the replacements. So I don't know. I'm not going to guarantee you if you write them, you're going to. I've written them and haven't heard shit back. But this individual, I said, I don't think they even got an email back. They just got them in the mail. So
Unreal.
As far as I know, the newer versions that are out there in the market are the newer fixes. They did the same thing with the Mad Max set and didn't tell anybody. Because for those who don't know, they fucked up and didn't put the 2.0 soundtrack on Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome and Road Warrior. It's just a fold down of the Dolby Atmos, and people wanted the original 2.0 stereo track. So there you go. That's when I think Damned Idealistic Fool Crusader was one of the first people to point out, if I'm not mistaken. Speaking of, but yeah.
Does that mean that version of the original Mad Max was packaged without the original Australian audio?
I think the first film is fine.
Okay.
I think it's just Road Warrior and
Right.
Beyond Thunderdome. I think they took the Dolby Atmos mix. What it was is they just folded that down to a 2.0 mix instead of actually putting the original 2.0 mix on there, which only is a huge deal to most people because this is one of those titles where Warner Brothers has beefed up the sound effects. So they actually have new added sound effects, stuff like that added to it to make it more spacious and whatever, new explosions and whatnot and stuff like that, just to beef it up or whatever. So some people, like they did with Batman and Superman. So
sure.
And the excuse for some of those I heard is they just couldn't locate the original sound effects is probably why.
Losing elements they used to have for previous formats. Not a good idea.
Yeah.
Not a good sign.
So that's also a plausibility. But nowadays it's getting less and less of a problem because with the new AI technology, they can literally separate out a mono soundtrack and do a full-fledged 5.1 mix or Dolby Atmos mix out of it now. So that's always a plus. But anyway, on that note, we have one more super chat from Todd Zilla who says with $5, Orville lost me when basically tackled the children. Yeah, that was kind of a weird episode. Issue that is going on today. I'm okay with social issues, but that's a bit much. And that wasn't even the worst of the episodes. It just kind of felt weird after that. But I'll have to check back in with what Andre said.
Actually,
but I don't know if you've been.
That's the episode that Hollywood really needed because that's not for us; it's for them.
Yeah, that's where I'm not going to. Yeah, that was when I know we had a pretty big debate about or talked about at the time. I don't know, Michael, if you've been a viewer of Orville at all, but
I was. The reason that I jumped off when they finally came back with that new season on Disney Plus or whatever it was, New Horizons, whatever it was called, is I watched 2 episodes of it, and it seemed like Orville forgot that while it was trying to be true Trek in one aspect, the other thing about it was it had a nice Galaxy Quest kind of feel to it where it had its own identity. And this new thing, it's almost like Seth MacFarlane thought, well, because Star Trek isn't Star Trek anymore, and now I'm on this new network or whatever, I'm just going to full index on trying to make what I think are next generation episodes with full-on drama and pretension. And I didn't even bother to look into any of the other stuff. I just got turned off by the total shift in tone. And I was like, so I haven't kept up with it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I didn't like the shift in tone. You made it one more episode than I did, though.
Yeah. I think
I
I
agree with you.
A 2-parter, and I had to finish the 2-parter out or something.
No,
that's a good.
It turned out good in the end, but I can't disagree with you. Not disagree.
No, and I think I see what you're saying there because that was my thing with the original show. What made it so charming was it was kind of like Star Trek, but it was like Star Trek, but we actually get to see the bathroom for the first time.
Right. Yeah.
That was the way I best described Orville. It's like, yes, it feels very Trekky, but we actually get to see the toilet. We actually get to see the lower level employees, the fuck ups, that kind of a thing. Yeah. And in that came out the humor, but yeah, that was my problem is I didn't laugh once, I think in that first episode. And then I didn't even bother after that of the third season.
That's exactly why I walked away because I was like, oh, I really do miss, I don't need this to be like the Naked Gun. It always wrote a nice line. It had a good balance to it, but they just decided, after that whole thing with the robot guy, we're just going to go full serious. And and I'm like, but you've established yourselves for a very successful 2-season run as a comedy, a light comedy, sci-fi comedy. This is,
because I loved what the original show, right? Like it was like the idea of like, oh, what if Worf discovered smoking? You know, like that's an you know, they wouldn't do that on Star Trek. Right. That's something they would do on the Orville, right? And they did that through the Bortus character or whatever. But yeah,
it was really a shame. It was really a shame. But again, I'm encouraged to hear that Andre says it actually redeems itself by the end. So based on his recommendation, I
thought so.
Mm-hmm.
But it is the weakest season, to be sure.
And I love like the Scott Grimes character because he's a guy you would never see on Star Trek, right? He's a guy who doesn't want to fucking be there.
Yeah.
He just wants to go. Yeah. Him, it's just a job, right?
Right.
Like, where's that guy?
One of the funniest things I've ever seen was on in media ever. I'm not exaggerating. Was on the earlier seasons of the Orville where he was trying to teach that robot what pranks were, and then he wakes up
Yes.
without his leg or something, and or his
Yes.
arm or something like that. And I mean,
What's
that
his
was
leg?
hilarious. Like that, and I'm going, that is exactly what would happen in a sci-fi world where a robot who knows that appendage can be totally reattached with modern tech would think, oh, this is a harmless prank, not realizing that an organic being would not find that funny whatsoever. Like that to me was playing with the space, and it did it in a way where it reminded me of some of those moments like the Magnificent Ferengi from DS9, where you just had that one episode where the Ferengi got themselves involved with like a mafia or something, and there was that whole heist that went wrong and everything like that. And the Orville was like that, expanded out into a series. And I it's too bad. The shift that it went to with I thought I'm bored.
Yeah,
Not
it is
bored,
sad.
yeah.
Because that's what I loved about it too. All the things you're saying, and like I said, it's the things that you normally wouldn't get to see on a Trek show, probably. But I'm sure somebody at one point said, "Well, what if?" Like,
Mhm.
oh well, we can't get away with that.
Right.
But yeah, you could totally see something like in an episode of TNG. If Data's trying to learn how to pull pranks, he would cut
Yeah.
Geordi's leg off or some shit.
Yeah. Yeah, because he knew that Dr. Crusher could totally perfectly put it back on seamlessly with no damage or trauma to the human or whatever. And that's how the future would be. That's kind of scary to think about, but yeah. So
Anyway, no, I think we're all on the same page with that. And on that note, I want to thank you, Michael. It's been way too long since we've got a chance to hang out. Of course, you're welcome anytime you have time. All you got to do is hit me up. But I was glad we were able to get you on here sooner than later, and it's been too long, just the same. But check out Michael's channel. It's criminally undersubbed to and underwatched, and he does a lot of great work, especially not just with toys, but like we said, with Man-Child News, bringing things to the forefront about like the multimedia and all that kind of stuff when it came to the disc rot situation and stuff like that. And you not only did you bring light up to that, but you brought light to creators such as that damn idealistic Fool Crusader, who is a great YouTuber in his own right. So I thank you for that, and for being here today, man. So anything you want to plug as we close things down?
I just real quick, I want to thank you and Andre always for just being great friends through the internet, and I always love hanging with you guys when I can, and I really appreciate, Tom, the fact that you always send me these invites. And what I do want to say to everybody is Tom's not wrong. My channel has been underexposed because I've never made content that like panders to the algorithm in that toy space way. I've never shilled or been a hype man. But in that vein, if you want to see videos that are about the toy / pop culture space that no other channel would ever do, because my comedy and sense of humor is very irreverent and very, I don't know, things that YouTube pretty much wouldn't like. You should check out my latest, one of my recent videos I put it out on April 1st. And it's called The Best Video Game Movie You've Never Seen. You'll see my sense of humor in that. And I'm surprised I still have a channel 7 days later.
That might help you, though. Video games are hot right now. Yeah.
What's that?
No, Tom, you go first.
I said, no, that might actually help you a little bit because video games are hot right now. But sorry, Andre, go ahead. My bad.
I was like, that makes me real curious which movie you're referring to and if it's the same one I'm thinking about.
Well, it's an April 1st video, but my April 1st jokes are always based in truth. I don't do fake stuff. I just have fun with something that I found. Like when I did the Spice Girls thing a few years ago for April 1st, that was a real mini documentary about how Spice Girls toys rolled out, but everybody thought at first it was an April Fool's joke. But the end of the video, the joke is that it's not a joke. And in this particular case, I happened, thanks to Amazon, to run across this recommended purchase, and I went, Amazon can't be serious. And then I started laughing because I didn't know what it was. And when I did find out what it was, I was like, oh, and I went and did a whole video about it for April 1. And so that'll give you a taste of my sense of humor, everybody. And if you like that, then you'll probably will like the rest of my content. So
Yeah, no, like totally. Like I've been saying, your man-child news is one of those that I don't get to watch. Here's my problem being a YouTuber is I don't get to watch a lot of other YouTubers. Time is very, as you know, it's a full-time job. It's like having two full-time jobs on top of each other on top of another full-time job.
It's 150% position.
Yep.
Yeah. So when I do, like, I see one of your man-child newses, the best part is they're small enough that I can usually consume them right away when you drop them, and I try to make sure I catch those as soon as possible. But like, yeah, I mean, you do some great stuff over there. Check that out. Funny shit when you do the man-child news. I love it. You know, your other videos are always so informative because you're not just on the toy stuff anymore. And that's the thing I noticed early on with you dealing with that, even kind of before the movie and video game industry side of the YouTubes was dealing with, was you wouldn't suck the dick of the toy industry. So you got a lot of the flack. And you get a lot of flack because I'll tell you what, if you think there's fanboys on any movie side of things, like dealing with toy fans are like dealing with Snyder Bros on a daily basis.
Yes.
From all angles.
Yes. That is a perfect analogy. Perfect analogy.
Well, I see your posts, man.
Well,
I don't know how you deal with half of them, but I see you deal with half of them. So that's the thing.
Sure. And Tom, just so you're aware, the April 1st video I made is only 5 minutes long.
I'll check that one out for sure.
It is, I swear, if I haven't managed to make you laugh with that video, then I'm a bad friend that doesn't know you well enough. I mean, I really think that, like, if you saw that video, you'd be like, yeah, this is hilarious. So,
well, I know what I'm checking out after the show for sure now. But here's the other thing I was going to point out with that whole thing, because I usually don't notice that you put a man-child news up until about 2-3 days after the fact, because YouTube sucks.
Yeah.
At alerting you guys to everything. So that was kind of the point I was going to make. So make sure you follow not only the channel, but follow us on Twitter as well. I don't know how much you post on your Twitter because I don't see you as much on Twitter because of the Twitter side of things as well. So
yeah, I post all my latest uploads to Twitter and let everybody
so there
know.
You go. And even I follow you on Twitter and I don't see all those. So there you go. See,
right.
So you got to do your best, and if you really care about the channel, do try to check out as much as possible, just in case you're not getting alerts. And Andre, you said recently the latest thing is to unsubscribe and resubscribe. Is that the new thing you're supposed to do now with the kids?
Yeah, Six tried that, and it worked for her, because when she did that, when she unsubscribed and then resubscribed and refreshed that way, saying that she wanted some notifications, then she actually got them, because the people who are getting unsubscribed are the old-time loyal watchers, the ones that watch the channel frequently. They're the ones getting unsubscribed. They're the ones suddenly not getting.
Well, we'll do another experiment.
Because otherwise it wouldn't be such that the channels that typically get like 70, 80,000 views per video struggle to get 40,000 unless the regular viewers aren't being notified of new uploads.
All right, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to unsubscribe from you and resubscribe. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm changing it to all, just make sure. Okay. And I'm also going to do the same thing to Mr. H reviews, because I have the same problem with him. So we'll see how well this works. So we'll see. We'll test it with 2 different channels now.
Yeah. So good to know.
But yeah, do check out Michael's channel. I can't recommend it enough. Andre, anything we got to plug besides a possible Toxic Femme later? I haven't talked to the ladies yet. But
not as of right now. So yeah, to possibly Toxic Femininity later tonight. Hopefully new video tomorrow. I'm getting over the sudden flu, a gift from the kids in school that knocked me clean out in the last few days here. So yeah, just stay tuned.
All right.
Check into the channel, see if anything has been uploaded, because you can't trust recommendations.
Yeah. There you go, kids. All right. Take care of yourselves and each other. And until next time, it is time for
some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas in the rain.